In the morning when I'm driving, I really come alive when I listen to my Ronnie, I listen to my Ronnie Q. They are rare and they are few who can compare with Ronnie Q. So grab a chair, she's coming through. She's on the air, it's time for Ronnie Q. They are rare and they are few who can compare with Ronnie Q. So grab a chair, she's coming through. She's on the air, it's time for Ronnie Q. Ronnie Q. It's time for Ronnie Q. Ronnie Q. It's time for Ronnie in the morning while I'm driving. Ronnie, I really come alive when it's time for Ronnie Q. I listen to my Ronnie. Ronnie, I listen to my Ronnie. It's time for Ronnie Q. Take a seat and go meet Ronnie. Sweet, 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 sweet Ronnie. No day complete without my Ronnie. She can't be beat. Sweet, sweet Ronnie.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. I apologize for having to reschedule my live at the last minute. Thank you all for being here. If you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button on your way in. Rascal had to wake me up this morning. I hear somebody tapping on the mattress. He was like, "Girl, what is really going on?" Hey, M. Renee. Rascal M. Renee said, Grand Rising. He said, that's what he said, M. Renee. Jill's Comfort Zone, good to see you. Grand Rising. Jackie Gaines, Grand Rising. Foot Soldier, good morning to you as well. Ashton, Grand Rising. I hope all of you are fine. LaShonda Allen, Grand Rising. Thank you guys for being here. That's what he said. I'm not lying. That's what he said. He giving me the side eye, still giving me the side eye right now. Okay. So, how you guys doing today? How y'all doing today? Who is that? That's Tim. How y'all doing today? Oh, Tim was on one yesterday. If you guys have not gone, speaking of Tim, if you guys haven't gone over there and watched Tim's live, oh my God, he was going off on Jay Wilson, something awful. Y'all know how Tim gets down. So if you haven't gone over there, he makes me laugh. I'm good. How about yourself? I'm good now. I'm good now that I overslept almost 40 minutes, and then I had to still go and do my little dog morning duties. So I apologize. I don't know why my phone didn't go off. My alarm is on, and I'm looking at my phone like, what is going on? So Yeah, I was really sleepy. Usually I would get up before my alarm, but my goodness, uh, I got a little rest. I got a little good rest. So go over there and check out. Okay, I found out during the end of my life when I was playing that hearing that Jay Wilson had said that he was leaving, but I didn't get a chance to hear uh, while he was leaving. Well, technically, he said he's not leaving; he'll still be here, but you know, uh, he's stepping away because he got a C-suite job with the corner office, which is odd. He said he got a promotion. So the last I heard, he had announced that he had been driving a bus for a year and you guys didn't know it. I wouldn't know it because I don't watch him, but he said you guys who watch him wouldn't know that he was driving a bus for a year. So is this promotion with the bus company? I don't know what he was trying to say there. But what I really think I am in agreement with several people who make great points that Jay Wilson is full of SHI. Jay Wilson changes his content every time his ass is in a sling. We do know that. So there is, hey, kind to me, Grand Rising. It is good to see you. Uh, every time his ass is in a sling, we know that Jay Wilson changes his content, and it is almost Easter Sunday, so I don't know if that's the reason he's changing his content once again. But what really intrigues me is the statement that he actually made. He said, all this stuff is, I'm not going to put down the B sector. All this stuff is fine and well, but it's more important stuff out here. I'm going to be talking about celebrity news and the news and all of this and politics. And I'm just like, I don't, he doesn't seem like the go-to guy for any of those topics. I don't know. Hearing the surface level that he speaks on those things, he can get more in depth with the celebrity news because he loves to eviscerate people in their personal lives. So that may be a bit his caliber, but it's interesting that now all of a sudden you are going to change your content. So let me know what happens over there. Let me know how that works. Grand Rising Truth and Reason, is good to see you as well. Bernice, Grand Rising to you. Miss Queenie, I didn't see you come in. Look at, I'm trying to go to bed. I got a promotion again. LOL. Good morning, everyone listening and making treat packs for my daughter's classmates for her birthday celebration. I have to pick up the cupcakes later today. She's turning 10. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Junior Queenie. And many more. Happy birthday to you. All right, happy birthday to your daughter. That sounds fun. I like the fact that every time Queenie comes on here, she's busy with her daughter. You don't see that much around this sector, but you are always involved doing something, going to some event, some sporting event, or something. A field trip or something with your daughter, and that is good to see. Grand Rising, Queen Diva, it is good to see you. Ashton, wish your daughter a happy birthday as well. No, Wilson, stay getting promotion. Oh, you finally decided to come on. Grand Rising, Jill. No, there's some birthday wishes. Child, he had MU over there last night. He asked her a question and it was clear she didn't know how to answer. She never knows how to answer. Oh my goodness, she never knows how to answer. I'm sure she won't come over here with that rhetoric. Um, did you see her show up at, I don't know, Truth and Reason, if you heard me talk about her, a recommendation came up in my notifications about her saying that she went to one of the hands-off rally in Palm Springs. And see, I wrote blue because I just wanted to see what the people were talking about. And she couldn't enunciate anything that she actually saw at the rally. She showed a few clips around, going around in circles, and then she played a whole lot of clips from Fox News, and then she said, "Oh, but I didn't hear them ask about. I didn't hear them ask about, three talking points. I can't even remember what it was because it had no no reference to what the march was about. Why would you? It was. I can't even remember of the missing money in the government, something else, some dumb stuff she said. She didn't hear them talk about. Why would she hear them talk about? What is she even talking about? So she mentioned that and sounded so proud, girl. It's not her birthday. If you had been here on time, you would know that it is her daughter's 10th birthday. Everybody in here who come on time are up on things, Jill. Get your stuff together. Get your act together, young lady. I didn't see Black Pearl come in. Hey, Black Pearl. Grand Rising. Jill, you know I'm just messing with you. Me and Jill always mess with each other. Don't nobody take Jill seriously. I mean, me and Jill seriously. Well, Jill seriously. You take me seriously. I was on time. Your ass was late. That is true. That is true, and I apologize. Okay. Hey, the cynical one. Grand Rising. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Judgmental Kimberly Black. Grand Rising. I start getting on Jill, and here come her backup, Kimberly Black. Mm-hmm. Hey, Kimberly, Grand Rising. It's so good to see you. She got a lot of nerves. Okay, this is a message for you, Jill. It's my daughter's 10th birthday. I'm working on treat bags for her classmates for a birthday celebration. And Jill, she's going to pick up the cupcakes later on today. I can imagine Jill was what do they call them? A tiger mommy as well. Good morning, ladies and gents. I can imagine Jill was a involved mommy as well, because she is that way now. She hovers over her daughters and demand when they go out that they bring her some chicken back. No, but I like the sound of their relationship. Jill and her daughters. I like to um, see her. Um, you don't see her interact per se with her daughters, but you hear the results of her interactions with her daughters, and it seems like um, they have a cool relationship. So that is good to see. Uh, always helicopter mom, yes, a helicopter mom. They call them tiger. Don't they call them tiger moms in the Asian community? I think they call them tiger moms, but yeah, helicopter moms is the universal term for it. Now, I have to ask you guys. I'm sure you guys have. I kept on wondering, why do I keep seeing headlines, and I hadn't delved into any of the YouTube stories about this because it was like Erder at a track meet. And I kept seeing that headline everywhere, 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 everywhere. And then the depiction of the kid who got unalived at the track meet, and the father coming out saying that he didn't buy the excuse that the uh, I say the defendant at this point gave for doing what he did to his son, which is reasonable. I think that that's reasonable. But then I kept seeing it day after day after day. And then it struck me. I said, this kid must be black who did this. So then I delved into the story a little bit. Uh, hey, Ray Black, uh, Grand Rising. Uh, thank you. Yes, I love my babies. I like I like that Jackie helicopter moms. Yes, I didn't follow it. I heard about it. Yeah. I just kept on, and it dawned on me. And then I don't know how I ran across this guy in my feeds. There is a black gentleman on YouTube who is following the story. I'm gonna drop his link in the chat because uh, I don't want to play his material, but he has some interesting things to say about what's going on in this case. Uh, I'm going to tell you what so far. I'm going to send you over there if you're interested to watch him, because he said that the people are big mad. He said that there have been so much racial hate being spewed out about this young man and this whole situation. Now, he said that there was a GoFundMe that was put up for this young man, and it got taken down. But I do know that GoFundMe doesn't allow people to collect for attorney fees. And the most recent thing that I've heard is that they had collected $200,000 for this man. Okay, let me drop you his link. And this is one thing I will play for you. So what they are saying is there's the uh, the uh, the young man who lost his life. His side of the story is he had a twin brother. Uh, they said he passed away in his brother's arms, and they're saying that the young black man was sitting under their tent. They had, those pop up tents because it was raining, and they were at a track meet. The young man was on the track team, is what I understand, and he was sitting under their tent to stay out of the rain. And they said that they told him that he has to get from under their tent because he doesn't go to their school, and allegedly he just got up and had a pocket knife and plunged it in the guy's chest. So that is the one side of the story. They claim to have witnesses that will attest to that is what happened. But now the other side of the story is that um, allegedly these teenagers were bullies. I mean, these twin teenagers were bullies, and when they came down and they saw and the black guy, these two twins, they played football, and they played football. Okay, this young man, he played track. We've seen pictures of this young man. So he's a thin built young man. And they said that when they saw him sitting under their tent, um, the unalived teen put his hands on him, and when he told him to get from under the tent. So then the young man who was he said he was defending himself. He told him, "Don't put your hands on me anymore." And then allegedly, he put his hands on him again. And then he went in his bag and uh, he defended himself. That is his story. So when they were looking for the assailant, they found him, and he said, "Yeah, I did it." So he had that. That instant outcry of guilt. So there's that. And they said he had blood on his finger. So they put him in jail on $1 million bond. And his side of the story also, there is claims that there is video evidence of the young black guy to actually coincide with it happening the way he said it happened. His family members are also saying that there's video evidence that that is the way it's happened. Allegedly, there are people who have come out and allegedly, I'm not sure. I just saw this man's one video. I'm going off of what I remember was said in the video. Allegedly, that these twin teens were known bullies, and the little group that they hang around with. Okay, so now I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna play something interesting that I was trying to delve in. I was trying to look for this guy where I saw this, so I typed in the track meet, and it's Court TV. Police warn about misinformation in deadly track meet stabbing, but they don't say exactly anything about what misinformation they're talking about. Um, she has a two guest panel, and she can't tell you in which way the misinformation is being spun. So let me give you the link to. I said I was going to give you the link to the person who seems to be following this story. So, what do you guys think of that as I uh, look for the link? That's how I. What is the name of his channel? It says this video is entitled "Racist Furious Over the 200K Raised for Carmelo Anthony." I'm going to put his link in the chat. It is also in my description box under track meet. So go check this brother out. Let me drop this in the chat. No, ma'am, Jill, I have no music for you. I heard the same story. Teenagers were bullies. Okay, so thank you, Jackie. No, this isn't Information Man. What is the name of this this YouTuber? The Amazing Lucas. I've never heard of him prior to this. Uh, so go over there and check him out. I don't know how he wound up. Yeah, so he has delved into this quite a bit, this story quite a bit. Um, so go over there and it seems like he's on the case. Is all I'm saying. Okay, so now you guys may be wondering, what do I mean by show me your papers, or do you? I don't know. Okay, so you've heard of him. I see it. I see it. I'm looking. I'm trying to stay out of it. She said she on no music for me. Okay, so uh, Queenie be everywhere. Queenie, I tell you, you are everywhere. I got rid of the music that I had for that day, Jill. Jill, when is just read my books um crafting day? Because I heard her say mid-April. And I know that I tentatively said April 18th for my event because that is, then I thought, wait a minute, that's mid April. I don't know if Just Read My Book already has that date, but my date has been tentative, April 18th. Well, listen to me right now. Listen to me right now. So I think Jill will get back to me. Okay, so tentatively on April 18th. I may have to push it back to the following Friday. Uh, in our crafting and conversation series, I my mind is at peace, Jill. Uh, let's keep it that way. In other words, quit. Don't get me started, Jill. Okay, tentatively on April 18th, or the weekend after, the Friday after. We're going to be doing crafting and conversations on my channel. Behind Between Pages already has her materials set to go. Her date is on the 19th, Saturday the 19th. So tentatively, I know I want to do Just Me Read My Books thing, and I will let you guys. Let's say the Friday after that. Let me see. What is the Friday after that? Let me look at my calendar. And then I will put out a flyer for my event. I don't like to craft 2 days in a row because I like to, clean up and prep my area and stuff so I can, you know, okay. The 25th. Friday the 25th at I don't have to even bother about Jill's comfort zone of availability because she's not going to participate this time. So Friday the 18th, let's say 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we will be uh, doing this planter bench. It's a little bench that you can set out your plants and flowers, flower pots on. It's a great bench for the spring. It's using 3 pieces of 1 by 1 by 2, 1 inches thick, 2 inches wide wood. Those that wood comes in 8. I think it's 8 foot lengths. Yes, 8 foot lengths, and there is a cut list on my community page wall. If you go into Home Depot, just give them the list. They will cut that 8 feet down into the lengths of wood that you need. You don't need to do any of the cutting. Oh, wait a minute. I take that back. You don't have to do any of the cutting of that wood, but on your you have to buy 3 packs of 5-gallon paint stick stirrers. They are 21 inches long. Two of them are going to have to be 19. Two of them are going to have to be 20, 19, and 18 inches. That's the things that you would have to cut yourself. You can cut that with a X-Acto knife. Those are easy to cut. If you have an X-Acto knife, you can cut those with that. So there's no cutting. The only thing that you will be using that some of you may or may not be comfortable with is a drill. So meet me. The list is on my community wall. If you want to, uh, you see those stained pieces. If you want to pre-stain your pieces, you're more than welcome to do that. The armrest and the seat. However, do not paint anything, pre-paint anything, and meet me on the 25th of April at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're gonna put this little planter bench together. Um, you can also buy some AC glue. That's the glue. It's like a crazy glue. You just drop it on, and then you spray the other part that you're gonna. It's like a wood glue. You put a couple of drops on one piece, and you spray an aerosol spray on the piece that you are going to stick together, and then you put it down, you stick it together, and that will make it easier for you guys who are unaccustomed to handling a power drill. It will already be super stuck, and it's a good glue to have anyway. Instead of waiting on the wood glue to dry, it would take hours. So get you some AC glue, or you don't have to. If you want to use regular wood glue, you can. The list of things that you will need is on my community wall. In addition to what's not on the list, I usually spray paint mine with an outdoor sealant. So, or you can use a sealant for a paint on sealant. They have the clear spray sealant that I use to to make sure that if some rain happens to fly on it, it'll be okay. So I hope you guys join me for my crafting and conversation. The project is really, really simple. I came over here to listen to Ronnie Q, not to be bothered with you. I am. I'm going to make it today. That was one thing that I wanted to ask you about because I heard, remember Jill Comfort Zone saying the the middle of the month. So I just wanted to double check that. I know the last time we did it back to back, it was a lot. So yeah, that's why I said it was tentatively so. Lord, Jill, leave foot soldier alone. Good God. Okay. Now, so let's get, I talked about the track meet. I wanted to make sure that I told you guys about that. Where are your papers? I was shocked to hear this story yesterday about an attorney who has taken the case of one of these college students who has been detained by our government for their being Palestinian sympathizers. Who they are trying to say is a part of Hamas or Hamas sympathizer or something to that effect. They took her visa and she has an attorney. Okay, so this attorney went on vacation to the DR, and when he gets back to Michigan, he is stopped by customs. Of course, you have to go to customs, but let me let you hear his own story via his own voice. You will be shocked, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not at this point. They are attacking attorneys. Lawyer representing student protester was detained. So that is the name of this video. I'm using it under fair.
Pushing until something stops them. They're going to keep pushing and pushing until something stops them. And then yesterday we saw an absolutely chilling story out of Michigan, where immigration agents detained and demanded to search the phone of an American citizen at the Detroit airport after he returned from a vacation with his wife and 2 daughters. His name is Amir Makhlid, and he broke no laws. He's a lawyer himself, and his only infraction, at least as far as we can tell in the eyes of the Trump administration, appears to be that he represents a pro-Palestinian demonstrator who was arrested at the University of Michigan last year. And that attorney, Amir Makhlid, joins me now. Mr. Makhlid, it's great to have you in the program. Just take me through, I think you were on a vacation in the Dominican Republic. You land in Detroit. You got to go through customs. What happens next?
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. Well, what happens next is when I get to the immigration checkpoint and I speak to a passport officer, they ran my passport, which happens routinely whenever you're coming in through the border. But the strange part is the agent looked up and looked to another government officer and asked if the TTRT team was available. And I didn't recognize that acronym, so I did a quick Google search while I was just standing at the desk there. And it turns out that term meant the Tactical Terrorism Response Team, which, you know, dropped my heart into my stomach. I almost nearly hit the floor thinking about what the heck that could be about. And so I looked over at my wife and I said, honey, they're gonna take me in for questioning. I'm pretty confident that they're gonna ask me to step into an interview room. And lo and behold, you know, another agent comes out and says, sir, follow me. And so as I was walking into the interview room, I asked them, well, are my wife and children free to leave? And they said yes. So my wife and kids waited outside for nearly 2 hours while I was being interrogated by Customs and Border Patrol protection officers. What's interesting in this situation is that as I was sitting in an interview room, a plainclothed agent who wouldn't identify himself to me asked me if, you know, I was carrying my cell phone. And I said yes. And he says, well, first off, let me just say this. We know who you are. We know that you're an attorney. And we know that you represent some high-profile clients. And the only high-profile case that I'm involved in right now is the representation of a young lady named Samantha Lewis. And she's involved at the University of Michigan and was engaged in political speech and protesting against the war in Gaza. And in our defense, we're going after the criminalization of free speech in the University of Michigan case. And so we've made a lot of public remarks about that topic, and we've stood tall with our clients on that issue. So as this conversation with this agent was going, he said, listen, he hands me a pamphlet which had a federal statute on it and said, listen, we're allowed to take your phone, even if you're an American citizen, and we can hold it for several days or weeks even, and then give it back to you once we're done going through it. or you can comply with us right now, give us the password, and let us go through it. And I said to them, well, guys, you already know, there's two agents in the room. You already know that I'm an attorney, and you know that a substantial amount of my work is going to be on my phone. And in these days, everything's electronic anyways.
Right.
There's nothing left to paper filings in court. I have my entire, all my emails, my text messages, all my files, my work product. It's all contained in my phone. And so I tell them everything that's in my phone could be considered work privilege and is attorney-client privilege. You have no right or authority to go through the contents of my phone, especially because you know I'm an attorney, and I'm not giving you that unfettered access to my phone. They said, listen, we could do this two ways. Either we could take your phone, and you're not going to have a phone for several days, or you can just give us the access. I said, I'm not giving you the access when I have privileged communications on my cell phone. Well, that charge, put him in a position where he had to go speak to his supervisor. He comes back several minutes later and says, why don't you write down, he gave me a legal pad, why don't you write down what it is that you feel is privileged, and we won't go through that stuff, we'll go through everything else. I said, what kind of a futile exercise would that be? I've got to go through nearly 15 years of communications and emails and files to say this is privileged and this isn't? I said, that's ridiculous. It's an impossibility to go through all that stuff. So we came after, this is going on for nearly an hour and a half. We came to the final pass. He said, listen, again, if you want to leave here with your phone, you're going to have to give us access.
Right.
And so they asked me, why don't you just show us the contacts in your phone? They wanted to know who my contacts were. They wanted to do a data dump of all the contacts in my phone. And I said, well, and he said, do you believe that that's privileged information? I said, it very well could be, but I don't want you to take my phone away from me either. Right. So I agreed to let them see my contacts only. And so once they did that, they came back and wanted to question. They gave me a list about 5 or 6 names of contacts that were on my phone and wanted to know how I was associated with these folks. What's my relationship to them? Where did I meet them? How did I know? And I said, now you're getting too far. Everybody that's in my phone is either going to be a family member, a friend, or a client.
Right.
And that's the only information I'm going to give you.
Wait,
to me,
let me just for 1 second. Did they say who they were? Was it Customs and Border Patrol? Did they say who they were? And did they give you a top line up the front who said, we've pulled you aside because of X?
Beat the tax deadline with
They pulled him aside because they wanted to trifle through his case with that girl who they got a case on.
They wouldn't tell me why they stopped me. They did tell me, and they were prepared. So it wasn't random. This is not something where I was just randomly selected. Right. They knew who I was. They knew my history. They knew I had represented high-profile cases. They told me we looked you up, and they were ready to ask me pointed questions about certain things. And because he brought up the high-profile case, it led me to believe that they're targeting me specifically because I've taken up the defense for this young lady, Miss Samantha Lewis. And to me, I was really appalled by that apparent overreach of the government at this point. And they were Customs and Border Protection agents, just wearing plain clothes. He showed me a badge, but he wouldn't tell me his name.
And we should be clear here that the normal sort of sort of protocol of rights are different at the border, right? That they can sort of ask anyone anything they want, essentially, at the border. Had you ever had an interaction like this before, where you had were questioned, but ever had anyone in law enforcement mention your clients as the possible motive?
And to see, that was very telling. We want to go through your phone. I guess that's why they didn't need a warrant, because he was coming into the country out of another country. So I was wondering, him being an attorney, wouldn't he? But I guess that's why he didn't say, no, you need a warrant to go through my phone.
I've never been interviewed at the border. I've gone and traveled, and they knew that I've traveled extensively outside of the country. And I just, as of recent as December, on Christmas break, we took another family trip to Mexico. I came back and nobody stopped us. But that was not during the Trump administration. Right. This is the distinction in this situation. We now have a new administration who's made it very clear that they're going to attack attorneys who are taking on, cases that are against the interests of what this current administration believes in. We've seen the memos that they've put out for immigration attorneys, and I'm not a practicing immigration lawyer, but it's disturbing that they want to sanction immigration attorneys for cases that they would deem to be frivolous if they're helping people who are seeking asylum, or attacking those DC law firms and the executive orders. So we're seeing a chilling effect on not just individuals,
and we're seeing a retribution against the attorneys that help prosecute cases against 45, 47, and we see. I played that video where they were talking about where these, or did I play? Did I play the video where they were yes, I think I played the hearing that they had where the young associates who worked for these big firms that bent the knee. Even a couple of these firms bent the knee prior to 45, 47 coming to them personally. They just bent the knee and offered him pro bono work. Because they wanted to make sure that they keep the money that they had rolling in. These are billion-dollar law firms, and this would affect. She said one of the associates said that she quit the law firm because basically she was disgusted, and she said that she was allowed to bill unlimited pro bono hours, and she understood that. What cases she would be able to represent would be hampered by their agreement to only work on cases with the approval of 45, 47. And if 45, 47 doesn't approve of these cases that these law firms are taking, there would be hell to pay for these law firms. So she and other 3 other law firms that he directly contacted, they fought the cases, and she was like, I don't even understand, why they wouldn't fight these cases that are easy to win. And so there's a big push to hamper what cases attorneys will accept. And shit rolls downhill, and he's starting off with these major law firms that could possibly accept class action cases, big money payout cases, cases which may involve him. Is he setting up his when he was charged in all of those crimes while he was out of office, a lot of high profile attorneys would not touch his case. He had such a hard time getting attorneys. So is he setting up, is he making sure that he will be able to have a good attorney after he get out of office? Could that also be one of the things that he's setting up? Because high profile and good attorneys he couldn't buy a good attorney the last time he was in all of that trouble, all of that legal trouble. Thus, he got the representation that he had, that he could afford. So, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I want to know what you think about it. Hey, T. Danielle. They were watching him, and they were watching him. I think you mean going and coming, and if he helped people, they are trying to silence. I definitely agree on that. Okay. So now let me share this with you guys. Let me share. Okay, this is about Trump screws himself with a bombshell mistake. I forget what this is about even. Let me see.
Country more. So now the tariffs are ruining the country and friendships. This is just another day.
Around.
It's finding about the April, May, maybe whoever approached us. So there are 50, 60, maybe almost 70 countries now who have approached us. So it's going to be a busy.
Okay, so this is Steve Besant. And if you guys watched that press conference yesterday with that lying press secretary, whatever her name is, Carolyn Lovett, I think her name is. It just really amazed me how they're saying this is about trade. They're saying this is about trade. They said that it was unnegotiable, but they could not negotiate it. And then all of a sudden, you got this guy talking about we got 50, maybe 60 people coming to negotiate with us. So 45, 47 saying one thing. This guy's out here on shows saying something else. And then you have Navarro, the Ron Vera of it all out here saying that it's non-negotiable. Also, they don't know what they're doing, but they do know they are wrecking the economy. And that's on the next link. Many people think that they're doing it on purpose because the Ron Vera guy and Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and the Commerce Secretary. Their business model is to go in and buy up a stock while it's low. And when there are dips in the stock market for the housing crisis, the COVID crisis, that is one of the things that they get rich off the most. This Treasury Secretary and allegedly the Commerce Secretary. The Commerce Secretary, who's a billionaire, who said if his mother-in-law don't get Social Security payments, she wouldn't worry about it. Only fraudsters worry about it. So this is how they get rich. Okay, so that's that on this. Let me see what he's talking.
April, May, maybe into June.
When do you think the market might turn around?
It's finding a bottom now. It's finding a bottom now.
It's finding the bottom now? Peter Navarro would be the worst guy to stage an intervention. Everybody else sees the urgent need to intervene, but Navarro's all, just sit tight. He's finding the bottom now. Let's let him lose his job, his family, his life savings. But once he finds the bottom, that's when he's really going to start crushing it. But Trump sent his advisors out into the world to pass on the message that there's no need to worry. And this messaging was crucial because yesterday, a handful of Republican senators banded together in an attempt to curb Trump's tariffing power. And Trump was not about to let that fly. So to reassure our nation that he was on the right track, Trump even wrote, the United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak, don't be stupid, don't be a panickin, a new party based on weak and stupid people. Panickin? No way, dude. That's terrible branding. It sounds way too close to pelican. And Republicans are not some species that just hangs around happily waiting to swallow whole whatever comes their way. Actually, yeah, no, let's stick with panicking. The point is, Trump knows what he's doing. You can't let other countries bully America when they're pulling shenanigans like this.
But it's not only tariffs, it's non-monetary tariffs. It's tariffs where they put things on that make it impossible for you to sell a car. It's not a money thing. They make it so difficult, the standards and the tests. They drop a bowling ball on the top of your car from 20 feet up. And if there's a little dent, they say, no, I'm sorry, your car doesn't qualify.
Sorry, what? Dropping bowling balls onto the roof of your car? Who is Trump hanging around with that he thinks that this is a real thing?
Yeah. Oh my fucking God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Okay, well, kind of makes sense now. And everyone finally got to see how things would actually shake out.
On Wall Street this morning, stocks around the world began the day with a bounce after days of losses set off by tariff turmoil.
Wow. Okay, look, I think I owe this president an apology. I mean, here I was thinking that the imposition of careless, reckless, across-the-board tariffs would continue to tank the stock market, but now look who's got 50% cheaper eggs all over their face. I guess all Trump has to do now is continue that sense of calm, and everything should be fine. Just coast, Donald. The market is rebounding. So long as you do nothing, we might get out unscathed.
Under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight.
God damn it, Donald. We said don't do anything, and you impose 104% tariffs on China, the one country that produces virtually everything that we buy, including, by the way,
the ties. Where are the ties
they
made?
Have to work
These are
too.
Beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China.
Well, I'll tell you, and you know what, David, in all fairness, I've been very open about that, and not all of them, by the way, but I've been very open about that. Are you okay? Is the
No,
chair
I'm
was
fine.
made in
I just,
China.
yeah, I know.
The chair was made in
The chair
China.
was made in China.
Donald Trump himself is a perfect test case as to why it might not be a great idea to tariff.
I was saying, I apologize. I was saying that if you look around your house, he felt that China shouldn't have retaliated. He put a 34% tax on China, and they turned around and did the same to the United States. Oh, I don't. What did he expect? Well, he expected a world power to come groveling down to him when they are the one who imports everything that Americans use. If you look around your house, from your housewares to your curtains, to your fixtures, to most gadgets that you use, they are not produced in the United States because companies have gone to China for their cheap labor. And this whole thing about Trump is going to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. How is that going to happen? How are these tariffs going to automatically bring manufacturing back to the U.S.? You hear him lie about how many trillions of dollars that he is already starting to receive. He's not receiving anything every month when the tariffs have been in effect since last Thursday. So let's be clear. This is some bullshit that we're being fed, and we are the ones who are going to have to pay that 104% tax on everything. Am I wrong? Do you guys? Can you hear me now? All right. So that's what I wanted to talk about.
Tariff the hell out of China. But he did, and as a result, well, do I even need to say it?
The Dow ended the day down more than 300 points. Stocks plunged after the White House announced that there will be no reprieve on tariffs for China. A whopping rate of 104% would be imposed on imports from China starting at midnight tonight.
So there will be no reprieve there will be no reprieve. As his press secretary comes out and says that China wants to make a deal. We'll see what China's going to do. This man is going to plunge us, isolate us, and plunge us into some real heavy shit that he can't get out of, because it is very clear that he does not know what he's doing at all. He has no plan to get no plan. He thinks that everybody is going to come and meet him like these high-profile attorneys. Okay, hold on. Like these high-profile attorneys have come to him. That's what he thinks is going to happen. Hold on one second. Yeah, so are you guys here? Nothing? Okay. So let me share. I guess you guys have nothing to say about that. Okay, so did you guys like the video? I hope you guys liked the video. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Y'all know Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't y'all? Y'all are familiar with her. I think you got to be familiar with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been up to. Now, we know that these congressmen and senators are privy to information before the American public is privy to information. So they have found, now they have accused Nancy Pelosi of insider trading. I think that someone, I forget who it was actually lost their seat because of their insider trading. So we understand that these congressmen go to Washington as regular smegular people, kind of like that white trash Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then they come out millionaires. So there is some suspicion that she has been doing some insider trading. So let's follow the breadcrumbs, shall we?
Been doing. It would not shock me, and I hate to speculate, if we were to find out that a whole bunch of people who work in Washington as our elected leaders, one way or the other, ultimately sold stocks last week, or potentially worse than that, shorted the market.
CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin may have been onto something when he shared his suspicion that government officials and elected politicians might have been gaming the stock market or gaming a stock market crash in order to, cash in, doing it to their advantage. Because new reporting from Sludge has found that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been making some pretty fishy trades, Cenk.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the timing of the trades are also very curious.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you how what scenario those trades might make sense and what scenario they don't make sense. And then we'll see which one Marjorie Taylor Greene fits into.
So look, you probably won't be surprised to find that publicly, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very supportive of Donald Trump's trade policies. She posts about it on X. She's done so repeatedly. I'll give you a taste of just a few of her posts. In one example, she writes, "America first means American workers first. These tariffs are Liberation Day for steelworkers, auto workers, and every forgotten small town. Empty factories will be full again. President Trump is bringing our economic independence back. Now, that's a common message that you'll hear from Trump supporters, certainly those closest to him and elected lawmakers as well. I'll give you some more examples. She writes, the COVID vaccine experts and couch stock traders need to take a look at the history of the stock market. They didn't care when the stock market was down big under Joe Biden's America Last policies. This is a short-lived correction that will end up paying dividends for American workers and manufacturers across the country. Now, let me just pause and say I'm still very skeptical that the real intent here by the Trump administration is to bring manufacturing jobs back. In fact, we're getting a little more clarity from his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, about how this is really just an effort to renegotiate trade deals. But I digress. So all of that I just shared with you in regard to her post are noteworthy because between March 17th and March 25th, Marjorie Taylor Greene bought up to $750,000 worth of Treasury bonds. Now, Cenk, why would anyone buy Treasury bonds?
Because when the market crashes, people take their money out. That's why they're selling the stocks. That's why the stocks are going down. Then they have cash. Where do they put that cash? They usually put it in Treasury bonds because they're safer. That's where you want to go in times that are volatile like this. So the value of those Treasury bonds then go up. And we've now found out, thanks to Bill Ackman, a billionaire donor of Trump, that Howard Lutnick, his former firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, heavily in bonds and are probably making a killing from this. So when they went into bonds is a different question than this story, but it's another example of, well, if you.
Okay, so there's a part about Howard Lutnick being heavy in bonds. It is alleged that the Treasury Secretary is also heavily in bonds, and that's how Cantor Fitzgerald has made all of their money. Howard Lutnick is over Cantor Fitzgerald, you know, the guy who said that, the multi-billionaire who said the shit about the mother-in-law not getting her Social Security check, she wouldn't be worried. So these are the things that I want you to understand. I think I forget how many billionaires that Trump has in his administration. So let's not forget that Trump retweeted a post about him tanking the economy on purpose. And then they, I think it's in this video as well. And then they had a quote from, not Bill Gates, from, oh God, I cannot believe it. I can't remember his name. They had a they lied about a quote. What is his name? Let me see if I think it's in this video. That he said that, what is his name? The old guy. Oh my God. The old money guy. Oh my God. Mind fart. Let me see. I think it's in this video. Let me see if it's in this video. Yes. Here is the thing that 4547 actually retweeted.
No, when you consider that last week the president himself reposted a video essentially stating that he crashed the stock market on purpose. I'm not kidding. He posted this. Take a look.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is
Warren Buffett. Yes. So Warren Buffett did not say this. Let's continue.
The best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now, here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now, it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now, you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the US to bring grocery prices way down. We've already seen this with eggs. Now, remember,
that doesn't make sense because most countries already sell their products over here. We get more of our products from Mexico and Canada vegetables than anywhere else. So this video is all over the place. So, but 4547 reshared it, that he was crashing the economy on purpose. And he is not astute enough to know all the contradictions that are in this video himself. He is not astute enough to know that in fact is not a quote up from Warren Buffett. He doesn't have to do the work. He can have somebody else do the work and say, hey, is this accurate? He don't care. He don't know, and he don't care to know. Okay, so this is the video that I wanted you. Are we going to get back to Marjorie Taylor Greene of it all? Because Cenk Uygur is going to come in here. That's why the Young Turks is sinking so bad with his bullshit. Okay, so let's
check this out.
Hold on. Maybe I skipped too far. With his both sideism of it. We're not talking about what you think is happening. We're talking about exactly what's happening now. If you didn't talk about it then, don't talk about it now, Cenk.
Hey, you know what? I'm seeing everything that Warren Buffett is seeing and everybody else is seeing publicly, and I think this is the direction it might go, and I'm going to go in that direction. Now, there's a second scenario, which is, no, she was in a meeting at the White House, and she knew that Trump was going to do tariffs that were super steep. She walks out of that meeting and goes straight to buying treasury bonds, right? So I don't know which one of those it is, and it didn't have to be at the White House. She could get insider information. That goes to the main point that Anna's making, and we've been making on the show for a long time. That's why it's problematic for members of Congress to trade stocks.
Yeah, individual stocks, yep.
Yeah, and so look, I could find exceptions. I could do we could have a reasonable conversation about what are the parameters of that.
So that's the conversation. The link is in my description box. I don't know what you guys think. Child, these two. Now it's do as I say, not as I do, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Exactly. And do we think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is intelligent enough to pull out of the stock market? I'm surprised she's even in the stock market. Hold on. Okay. So let me share this. Do we think that this is an astute person in finances or in astute in anything other than being a Trump sycophant who got elected into office because of all her MAGA spewings, let's say. So is this an intelligent woman? Let's see.
Anybody else?
Should the defense secretary?
What country are you? Wait, what country are you
From
from?
the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem? And you no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care
No.
about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about
not-
American lives being put at risk?
You know what? I don't
About
care. I don't.
service members fighting for your country.
I don't care
and
about your
vice
fake news.
president
Do you have a
and your
relevant
defense
question?
secretary?
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question
right,
because I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can
Do you
answer.
have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top level of this administration?
You want to know about complete disregard about operational security? You should talk about the Biden administration, how they ripped our borders open to terrorists, cartel, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, and drug trafficking across our borders for 4 years. The Trump administration is doing a great job, and I stand by their statements. I stand by their statements. My comment to you is I'm thankful to President Trump that he is leading us out of wars, that he's ending the war in Ukraine, where American lives could have been killed if Joe Biden was still president today, whether he liked it or not. We're talking about NPR and PBS today. We're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists from the UK that should care about.
A journalist is being vilified for exposing failing.
Okay, so this was during the signal leak debacle. Hey, where me, Grand Rising. You know that 4547 loves to spread lies and propaganda. Yeah, and this is one of his main person that spreads it. So I'm just saying, yeah, there is a suspicion of this going on, and we know that that's how a lot of the wealthy make their money. It is, hey, I'm just putting it out here. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes to pass about these people and their dealings. Okay, so let me share. Let me see. I have this now. Are we clear that 4547 is inept in anything about these tariffs and who pays them, how we're about to become rich? How are we going to become rich by Americans having to pay more? Maybe the crashing of the economy is going to make some people rich. Did you ever wonder why he keep on saying that we are going to become rich? Maybe the whole plan was, in fact, to crash the economy, to buy up stocks while they were low, and come back and become rich when the market rebounds. But see, the other thing about that is the American people who have lost a lot of money in their 401ks, they're not going to become rich because maybe a lot of them don't have enough time before they retire to bear this out and become rich. Maybe what about the people who were about to retire, are within 5 or less years to retirement age? How are they going to bear this market out? Well, they're not dealing with millions of dollars. So these people who are crying about Elon Musk, they're saying that he is estimating that he's lost $30 billion, but they tell you that his worth is over $300 billion. Oh, and let's not, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you this week during all of this, I got to bring this up. During all of this hubbub, Elon Musk has just was granted a $6 billion contract from to his SpaceX program. So he lost $30 billion allegedly, and now all of a sudden he gets a $6 billion contract. I'm going to pull that up as we watch this. I wanted to share this with you. Let's hear how inept John Bolton. Trump's tariffs are a huge opportunity for China. Now they are huger. Okay.
It urges the White House to, quote, immediately correct its wrongdoings, end quote, warning that China's response, if American tariffs stay in place, will, quote, continue to the end. Perspective now from former UN Ambassador John Bolton, who served as National Security Advisor in the first Trump administration, and Richard Quest, CNN business editor-at-large and anchor Quest Means Business. So, Ambassador Bolton, I know you're not an economist, but just from a strategic perspective, do you think China is going to blink and try to cut a deal with the White House?
It certainly doesn't look like it, but what Trump is doing is a huge opportunity for China worldwide. These tariffs are a form of economic illiteracy. Trump has no idea really what he's talking about. He doesn't understand how tariffs works. He has said as recently as a few days ago, he views trade surpluses and deficits as like a profit and loss statement, which they certainly are not. So what he's doing has put us in a very vulnerable position, and probably in the worst position possible to go after the real country problem in the international trading system, which is China. Instead of taking on the country that's stolen our intellectual property for decades, among other things, by gathering our allies together, all of whom also suffer from China's intellectual property theft, and engaging in concerted action, we're at war with our largest trading partners while we're about to go to war with China as well. It simply makes no sense, and it's just sad and depressing that more Republicans haven't stood up and said that. This is illiteracy.
Richard, what does it look like for Americans if the price of everything imported from China effectively doubles overnight? How much of that gets passed on to consumers?
Well, the ambassador calls it economic illiteracy. I've called it economic vandalism, because if you have 104% tariffs, what the effective thing is going to happen is two things. Number one, things simply won't be imported. It's too expensive. It's become unprofitable, uneconomic. Things simply will not be imported. Think about Christmas toys that just won't arrive. But there are many things now that, as the Chinese have reminded the United States in a commentary a couple of days ago, there are many things that the US only gets from China. Certain electronics, certain parts of manufacture, they can only now be received from China, and the US is going to find that they're going to be left without. They're going to be trying to source it elsewhere. And one point to remember, Anderson, tonight, oh yes, you've got the 104% against China, but you've got the 24% against Japan. And of course, there's the 25% autos. You've got the 15% against South Korea, and you've got the 20% against the European Union. So wherever you look at midnight tonight, the global trading network is about to come under the most ferocious strain that it's seen, certainly since the Second World War.
Ambassador Bolton, I mean, the first Trump administration, some talked about a so-called madman theory that when it comes to national security, the idea that adversaries won't challenge the president if they think he's unpredictable. Does it make any sense to you to apply that same philosophy to allied trading partnerships?
No, look, the madman theory has a rationale behind it. When Richard Nixon recommended it to Henry Kissinger dealing with China, because Richard Nixon was well known as an anti-communist. He had made his political reputation on that. So when he told Kissinger to basically say Nixon might use nuclear weapons in the particular context they were talking about, use them against China, it made sense because Nixon believed he was a hardline anti-communist. Trump doesn't believe in anything. He's simply transactional, anecdotal, episodic, and that's what these tariff policies have looked like in their rollout.
Richard, the New York Times described the market decline as
Exactly. Disjointed, doesn't make sense, and he can't make sense of it because he has taken the advice of Peter Navarro, who was quoting some economic expert in all of his books and writings, Ron Vera, which was what did they call it? A mixing of the letters in his last name, Navarro, to get the fictitious person, Ron Vera, who he demurred to on all of his economic facts. And this Ron Vera told Peter Navarro allegedly that tariffs were the way to go. And Peter Navarro is in the Trump White House on his economic staff. Let's be clear. This is all lunacy. This is what it is. It's lunacy. In a way, 45, 47 ain't going, it's not going to ever cut out on a way to make money. So now China has, we haven't heard what China is going to do since the 104 tariff was put on them yesterday. But let's see what Canada has done. This just coming in. Let's see what Canada has said.
12:01 tonight, Canada's counter tariffs will come into force. There will be 25% tariffs on all non-CUSMA compliant vehicles from the US and 25% tariffs on the contents of CUSMA compliant vehicles that are not from Canada or Mexico. President Trump caused this trade crisis, and Canada is responding with purpose and with force. The boycott by Canada of all things American is getting stronger. By some counts, 70, 85% of leisure tourism coming to a screeching halt from Canadian tourism into the United States. Also, the Buy Canada.
Hold on a minute. I stopped that a little premature. Hold on. I apologize. Let me go back a little bit.
Crushing it and crushing the United States. They're also setting an example to the percent of leisure tourism coming to a screeching halt from Canadian tourism into the United States. Also, the Buy Canada movement in Canada is absolutely crushing it and crushing the United States. They're also setting an example to the rest of the world, to Europe, to Australia, to New Zealand, to Africa, to South America, to Central America, to Mexico, to others, how you stand up to the Trump regime. Look, I got to hand it to Prime Minister Carney. He's standing up strong to the Trump regime. He recently spoke in Richmond, British Columbia. I want to show you some key portions of the speech that he just gave. Let's play this clip first.
The global economy has fundamentally changed because of these actions. The system of global trade that's existed all my life, everyone in this room pretty much, the system of trade that was anchored on the United States, that we as a country have relied on since the end of the Second World War. A system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity to our country for decades. That system is over. Yeah, that system is over. And our old relationship with the United States, which in fits and starts, but in the same direction, was based on steadily deepening integration, getting closer with the United States. That relationship is over. And in many ways, this is a tragedy, but it's the new reality, and we have to respond to it. And we are responding. We are responding as Canada. We are responding with purpose and with force. We will fight, we will protect, and we will build.
Now, just contrast Prime Minister Carney like a real leader, a banker who guided Canada through the Great Recession of the early to mid 2000s, someone who, as a banker, led the UK through Brexit during its most difficult crisis. Cool, calm, composed. Contrast that. The banker to Trump, the bankrupter, the destroyer. Trump was never a builder. He just destroyed and bankrupted the things that he touched in his life, despite being born with a golden spoon in his mouth from his daddy who gave him his money. Here was Donald Trump last night at the National Republican meeting that took place last night in Washington, D.C., Congressional campaign meeting that took place in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump's like, all the countries are calling me. They're kissing my ass. They're kissing my ass. So take a look at the first clip I showed you with Prime Minister Carney, contrast it to this pathetic loser behavior by Donald Trump. Play this clip.
This is the largest transaction in the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
I mean, look, when you've lost Rand Paul, Donald, MAGA Republican Rand Paul of Kentucky, who no doubt knows Kentucky's economy is getting crushed by the Canadian boycott. Kentucky bourbon, other Kentucky booze getting crushed. When you lost Rand Paul, Donald, you've lost the plot. Here's MAGA Republican Rand Paul saying, "Can we talk about the truth? We have to. Trump's lying about Canada. Play this clip."
We have to start from talking about the truth. One of the things they say with Canada is, oh, there's a 270% tariff on dairy products going from the U.S. into Canada. Well, you know what the real tariff is? 0. That's a big difference between what the truth is. So there's a certain amount of goods, dairy goods, that go to Canada every year, and they go at 0%. If we exceed a certain amount, there's this ridiculous 270% tariff, but we've never encountered it. And the USMC renegotiated it and raised the level that's under 0. Trump should be congratulated for USMC raising the amount of dairy that goes in at 0. But we have to have an honest debate. We can't go around saying that there's a 270% tariff when that's not really the truth.
Wild that I'm saying.
He doesn't know how to tell the truth. It's all. Thank you, Outspoken One. I appreciate you for helping me meet my goals. I really appreciate you, Outspoken One. Child, Navarro is a con artist too. Yes, he is. Okay, so I put that link in the chat because I pulled that up late. Now let's get. Did you guys hear what they have done with Harriet Tubman? They pulled her out of the national parks registry, and then when they got backlash, of course, they put her back in. So let's hear a little bit about that. Did you guys hear about that? Harriet Tubman, of all people. Oh, I have the web address on there, the military web address where they talked about it. Let me share this page with you and read what it says. And then I have a little clip about someone speaking on it. Oh, it's not on the page. Wait a minute. Let me find it. I apologize. I thought I had it on the page. I apologize. Hold on. I have it on the home page, not on the Harriet Tubman page. Okay, so there are 2 articles here. I didn't even see this first one. Harriet Tubman and the often overlooked history of her Civil War military raids. I didn't even know about that. That is here. This is the story that I wanted to report. As part of the DEI, a non-DEI initiative, the National Park Service restores original Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad webpage. They had taken this page down. And Washington, the National Park Service has reversed edits and restored content to its web page about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad in a wake of news reports and public backlash over the changes. Changes to the Underground Railroad page on the National Park Service's website were made without approval from the NPS, National Parks Services leadership, nor department leadership. NPS spokeswoman Rachel Paltz said Monday in an email, the website was immediately restored to its original content She did not say who ordered the changes or for what reason. The changes first reported by the Washington Post included removing Tubman's picture from the top of the page and making multiple edits to the text. Side-by-side analysis of the page. Let's see side-by-side analysis of the page. Let's see what they did. What is the Underground Railroad? Okay, so they definitely changed a lot of this. Who are all these people on these stamps? Oh, so we see all U.S. Postal Service Underground Railroad commemorative stamps. Some of the men and women who escaped slavery and or helped others escape. I don't see anything about Harriet Tubman in the blue text. The Underground Railroad flourished from the end of the 18th century and the end of the Civil War. Nothing about Harriet Tubman is on the right page, so they definitely totally eliminated her from the history of the Underground Railroad. That's what they did. Okay, so the link, let me put this new link in the description box. In the chat. So a side-by-side analysis of the pages using the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine revealed changes that remove references to slavery and change the descriptions about the issue and its brutal realities. Oh, so they whitewashed slavery and the reason why she was doing what she was doing. How can you talk about Harriet Tubman and not talk about slavery? For example, the original opening sentence referenced the railroad's core role in the resistance to enslavement through escape and flight. The edited version called the railroad one of the most significant expressions of the African civil rights movement and described how it bridged the divides of race, religion, sectional differences, and nationality. Nothing about slavery? Okay, so this is what your grandkids and their grandkids will be learning in this no DEI state. Let me. You got that letter? All right. Have a good one. Okay, so I'm gonna drop that link for you guys there. If you guys are not up on this military.com, it's a lot of information that is not dispersed anywhere else. You may want to check that out. So that's the link to that story. So let me play this for you as well about the Harriet Tubman. Did you guys know about that? Here we go. If you didn't know, here's a little more. Democracy Now! You know, I recommend Democracy Now! They carry great stories about a whole lot of things that you don't see on your for-profit media. Let me see. Oh my goodness, why is this doing that? Let me see.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. The National Park Service Monday appeared to have restored its original webpage on the history of the Underground Railroad following a backlash over its deletion of a prominent image of abolitionist Harriet Tubman, as well as edits to the text that minimize the horrors of slavery, instead talking about white-black cooperation. A Washington Post investigation published Sunday found in the weeks following Trump's inauguration, Tubman's photograph had been removed and replaced with images of Postal Service stamps that highlighted this black-white cooperation. Late last month, President Trump issued an executive order titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, which claims the Smithsonian's museums have come under, quote, the influence of a divisive race-centered ideology, unquote. The order singles out the National Museum of African American History and Culture, inaugurated by President Obama in 2016. On Friday, Kevin Young, the director of the museum since 2021, resigned. Our next guest argues nothing about these efforts to whitewash American history, nor the Trump administration's expanding crackdown on dissent and immigration, should be surprising to Americans. Fordham University professor Christina Greer's latest op-ed for the New York Times is headlined, Black Americans Are Not Surprised. She writes, quote, it's frightening and disappointing, but not surprising if one knows anything about the Black experience in America, unquote. Christina Greer, thank you so much for being with us. You wrote the book, How to Build a Democracy, from Fannie Lou Hamer and Barbara Jordan to Stacey Abrams, as well as the book, Black Ethnics, Race, Immigration, and the Pursuit of the American Dream. Welcome to Democracy Now! Why don't you take it from the title, from there? Black Americans Are Not Surprised.
Thanks, Amy. Well, there's just been so much hand-wringing about how could this be happening? What's going on? This isn't the country I know. And so many Black Americans are like, this is absolutely the country we know. This is a country that's made a lot of progress over the decades, the centuries, but there's always progress and regress in this nation. And so if we think about post-Civil War Reconstruction and the great progress that we made, and we had elected officials, Black elected officials, even in the South, and then that was a very short-lived experiment, and we had decades of brutality in Jim Crow, Black military officers being lynched in their uniforms, redlining, the refusal to include Black women in many of the New Deal policies, therefore the lack of generational wealth that was able to be passed down because of Black domestic workers, people being fired. We always joke, Good Times, the TV show, the Norman Lear TV show with John Amos, his famous tagline is, Florida is last hired and first fired. These are all things that Black Americans are fully aware of. Nothing that's happening right now is a shock. It's just a shock to so many white people because it's never happened to them. But what we're seeing, sadly, happen in the 21st century, so many of our parents and grandparents have told us these stories. My parents, who were very young and hip and we traveled together, they went to segregated schools. My father integrated his high school in Miami. My mother never went to integrated schools a day in her life, and these are people who are still walking among us. Ruby Bridges isn't even 70 years old. So many people have no idea who Ruby Bridges even is, right? The little Black girl who integrated Louisiana public schools. And there's been a systemic erasure of Black history consistently, book bannings consistently. So as I write in the piece, we kind of jump from slavery and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass to all of a sudden civil rights. We jump over 100 years to Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. And then all of a sudden we jump a few more decades to a post-racial Barack Obama. But there's a really, really brutal and bloody and dark history of Black people in this country at the hands of white people. Not all white people, but
Lord, I was on mute. I said I disagree about Barack Obama being a post-racial period in our history. I do agree with how they like to just hop and skip over our history, and then from Martin Luther King, we go to Barack Obama. I don't think that that was post-racial. I think that that shows you exactly how seated in race we were. That after Barack Obama, they go to this elect this person who who came out with very racist statements. The first day that he said he was running for president, they knew what it was. As soon as he said what he said about Mexicans, they knew that they had someone who would clump all races together as being horrible people, and they wanted more, and they got more, as he would not separate himself from David Duke. All of these things only wanted them, only made them want more after Barack Obama. So it was no post-racial, and now we have him re-elected again after they saw that he is willing to break the law and to actually divide. Deny the Constitution of America with that January 6th attack, spurring it on, in my opinion. So now they are getting the full-fledged, unabridged edition of what in my opinion, a racist president will do in this century. And thus, those are the first things that he did unnecessarily to try to bring Black people down. You should have realized it when he was in the debate talking about Black jobs. That lets you know right then and there that he didn't think that Black people shouldn't have certain jobs. And speaking of jobs, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you how they say, "Hey, good morning, Mama Fifi." I would be remiss if I didn't talk about. Did I put this link in the chat? Let me put this link in the chat. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how they are saying that these tariffs are going to bring jobs back to the United States. These are warehouse jobs that they're speaking of. At the same time, they are taking jobs working. You don't have to work with your body. Your body is the only thing that's working in these jobs. But they're taking all of these civil service jobs away from people that they don't have to labor. They're taking they're replacing it where you have to labor with your body. These are the jobs that they're talking about. And you're not going to get these jobs because these companies are not going to pay a living wage. Who's going to accept these jobs that they're talking about? Nobody's going to accept these jobs. At the same time, they're trying to say that these tariffs are so important to the American worker. At the same time that they are firing hundreds and thousands of American workers. And I would also be remiss. I would also be remiss if I didn't remind you about the order that a judge said that 16,000 workers were fired. That they had to reinstate these workers. See, the people who are worried about the American jobs, you know what they did when they got that order? You know what they did? They took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court disagreed with the judge, and now those 16,000 workers are not getting their jobs back. But they want you to believe that these tariffs were about American jobs because the American worker has been so disrespected. Catch. Okay. So if you heard anything new, help me reach my goals. I do have goals. Thank you, Outspoken One, for always helping me meet my goals. People, companies fighting back park services put. I just did that story. I just did that story. That is, you walked in just after I did that story. So let's continue. There's a couple of more things that I talked to you about Israel all the time. I talk about you. I talk to you about Israel all the time. When it was something to see, Trump uh, just discussed that America should own Gaza, and it would be good if America owned Gaza. The day before yesterday, when Netanyahu was sitting his ass up in the White House, having to avert his flight plan to not fly over certain nations just in case he had to have an emergency stop somewhere and he'd be arrested for war crimes. So, uh, and you know, let's keep it above. Uh, nobody's, everybody's like, oh well, oh well, and the United States is sitting up here financing this and not saying a word about this other than the agreements in taking their land and removing their people, ethnic cleansing a area. That is all the United States has to say. Because we have someone who thinks he's still a real estate developer talking about this waterfront property that they are doing nothing with, as if they weren't living under their own Jim Crow, more like Grim Crow laws. Whatever the Israel decided to put upon them. So they didn't take advantage of their waterfront property properly. So let's take it from them. And well, how does it wind up to be America's? Oh, they're transactional. So instead of outright saying, you're going to have to give me something, like they said in the signal, like they were talking about in those signal leaked conversations, we're going to have to find a way to contract something from the European nations for us coming in and doing this. But they want to tell you that they are fighting a pure war to open up the Black Sea from the Houthis attacking in the Black Sea. But they're not telling you the Houthis are trying to disrupt the Black Sea and make it hard for them to get ships through the Black Sea, and a protest and equipment getting in through the Black Sea to Israel because of what's going on in Gaza. They're not telling you any of this. So let's talk about Gaza a little bit today. Let's talk about, because our media is not going to talk about it. Did you hear our media talk about the story yesterday about the pulling of the bodies of the 15 paramedics and 3 medics and their vehicles out of the sand? No. And did your media talk to you about that Israel said that they didn't know who they were? They didn't have their lights and sirens on, so therefore they fired on. That was their excuse. And Israel has not come out with anything since it has been shown in a video that one of the people who were riding in the ambulances showed that they had their lights and sirens on in his death video. Did your media tell you this? No, your media is ignoring genocide. ignoring genocide. So let's talk about this a little bit.
It has been nonstop, wall-to-wall genocide for so long now. And, you know, what's really disheartening is that seemingly for the first maybe 5 months or so, everybody had their eyeballs glued to it. Everybody was following every single update that came out of there. And there was this real sense of underlying outrage. And just the humanity of people was showing that they were like, this is unacceptable. This has got to stop. The world's got to take action, etc. Right? And I could say, just from doing this show firsthand, you noticed within the first 5 months or so, as we covered every single update, people wouldn't stop watching. They couldn't stop watching. They were just, they were glued to it, and they wanted to know what was happening, and they wanted, you know, to stop it. And then as time has gone on, it really says something dark about the human psyche. Like, people could just sort of get used to horrible things if they're consistent, right? And then it just wasn't as big of a story, and people weren't talking about it as much, and there wasn't as much outrage, and it's almost like people just baked into the cake of their mind that, yeah, Netanyahu and Israel are fucking vicious, fascist, genocidal freaks, and the Palestinians are innocent victims who are being slaughtered, and that's just how it is. And what can we even do about it? Like, that seems to be the perspective, and that's very disturbing, right? That's very disturbing, because you can never stop fighting for justice, stop fighting for what's right, give up, right? Because then they win. Then the bad guys win. That's the last thing I want, is the fucking bad guys to win. So let's go through. Now it is official. Israel is even openly sort of acknowledging, yeah, we're stealing Gaza. We're starting to steal Gaza right now. Okay, but I'm going to walk you through this article here. I want you to take note of how weaselly the language is in this media outlet. And this is Sky News, by the way. Weaselly language. And this is also part of the problem with what's...
No, they sanitize the language. They sanitize the language. When they're talking about the Palestinian people, the language is sanitized. But when they're talking about the Israeli people, it's sympathy born into all of their writings, and you are supposed to feel some humanity when they talk about Israel. That's what's done. Let's keep it a buck.
What's been going on is that there is a sanitized nature to it in the West, in the US. Like, there's a sanitized language where when Israelis are victims, they use very emotive language, very over-the-top language. This is terrorism, this is brutal, this is barbaric, this is savage, etc. But when it's Palestinian victims, everything is seeped of its humanity, seeped of the emotive language. A blast took 17
technical. It's technical.
Lives, the Gaza Health Ministry says. Like, they always take the teeth out of it, right? So keep that in mind. Since I said that, keep that in mind.
And when they report the people who have been unalived by it, they always try to let you say, when they say the Gaza Ministry said, according to the Gaza Ministry, as if they can't be trusted in their reportings of the death. So are you looking at Gaza now and think that they are underestimating the deaths? When you, child...
Keep that in mind for this article. Ready? Here we go. Netanyahu says Israel establishing new security corridor in Gaza to, quote, pressure Hamas, and plans to seize large areas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his troops are seizing an area he called the Morag Axis, a reference to a former Israeli settlement previously located in an area between Rafah and Khan Yunis. So let me break down this title for you in layman's terms. Netanyahu says Israel will annex parts of Gaza, and we'll finish the ethnic cleansing. Like, that's what's actually happening. That's what the title should be. But notice how they sanitized it. They make it sound official, right? We're establishing a new security corridor. What does that mean? By stealing more of their land. Motherfucker. Okay, here we go. Israel is establishing a new security corridor across Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced as his country plans to seize large areas of Palestinian territory. Mr. Netanyahu said Israel was increasing the pressure on Hamas as it demands the militant group return dozens of remaining hostages taken in the October 7th attack. This is getting so tiresome, man. Bro, a deal for the hostages was always on the table. You just had to stop doing your genocide, and you refused to actually stop the genocide. But they're framing this for Western audiences along the lines of the reason why we're going to steal a lot of territory in Gaza now and take it and annex it and build on it. The reason we're going to do that is because of the hostages or something. It's so lazy. I don't know how the person who wrote this article, how can you write that in good conscience, man? He said his troops were seizing an area he called the Morag Axis, a reference to a former Israeli settlement previously located in an area between the two southern cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. Mr. Netanyahu said in a video message that we are now dividing the strip and we are increasing pressure step by step so they will give us our hostages. Remember, this is just a cover story for the West. By the way, one of the things which is fascinating is when Netanyahu is giving a domestic address to the people of Israel, he'll speak in Hebrew and he will let it all hang the fuck out. He will actually tell the truth about what they're doing. When he speaks to Western audiences, it's all couched. It's all softened. It's a security corridor. We're not stealing parts of Gaza. It's a security corridor. We're just trying to put pressure to get our hostages back. None of that shit is true, bro. They're just annexing Gaza. That's all they're doing. The prime minister said the move, which would cut off Rafah from Khan Yunis, would give Israel control of a second axis in southern Gaza. That is in addition to the Philadelphia corridor running along the border with Egypt, which Israel sees as a key line stopping weapons being smuggled into Gaza. Israel's defense minister Israel Katz said his country was beginning a major expansion of its military operation in the strip, and there would be a large-scale evacuation of the Palestinian population from fighting areas. Let me repeat that. There would be a large-scale evacuation of the Palestinian population from fighting areas. Another way of saying that is we are doing the ethnic cleansing. They did the genocide, the endless bombing. Gaza barely fucking exists anymore. It's just a giant pile of rubble. And now they're doing the large-scale evacuation of the Palestinian population from fighting areas. That's another way of saying we are doing the ethnic cleansing and we are stealing the fucking land.
Okay. So this link is in my description box. Okay, so if you would like to finish that video, go check it out. Since we call it a thing, let's call a thing a thing. Let me see. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, so now China, this is some breaking news I want to share with you. I talked about the U.S. Putting a 104% tariffs on China. So here is the response this morning. Let's go over here and see what China has done this morning.
News this morning, China is striking back. In just the last hour, Beijing announced it is now slapping new retaliatory tariffs on all U.S. goods by an additional 50%, bringing the total tax on U.S. goods headed there to now 84%. Just look at your screen. That is after President Trump followed through on his threat to hit China with new tariffs, adding up to a combined 104%. That set in at midnight. So as the two countries now show exactly what a trade war looks like, going punch for punch, here's a live look at how stock futures are looking, and they are down across the board. They were mixed early this morning. Now all the major indices are down. Let's continue to follow this morning. Opening bell, next hour, investors bracing for another roller coaster ride today. Many of the markets in Asia also took a hit as the new round of Trump tariffs set in. And also this just in, we have first reaction now from the White House. Which we will get to in just a moment. CNN anchor and business correspondent Zain Asher has the very latest for us, and she's joining us right now. So with this response from China, one thing, and all the things that are not clear, one thing is clear, is China's taking a very different approach than basically every other nation.
Absolutely. I mean, say what you want about reciprocal tariffs that are taking place across the world right now. The canary in the coal mine, Kate, is China, not just because of the 104%. Obviously, that is a huge amount, but it's also the fact that American businesses have had such little time to prepare. This is moving very, very quickly.
Yes.
You think about the retaliatory tariffs, 104% in terms of what Trump is slapping China with, 84% in terms of what's happening vice versa. Xi Jinping, his rationale is, listen, we can afford to wait this out. Why can we afford to wait this out? Because Americans rely on China much more than vice versa. It is the American consumers that are going to suffer because America imports essentially 3 to 4 times the amount of goods from China compared to vice versa. Also, the Chinese have other ways of protecting their economy, including, for example, boosting domestic consumption. That's one way. Also strengthening regional cooperation. That's another way. There is a fear that they're going to flood the EU with more Chinese goods. That's another factor as well. But they know that it is the American consumer that is going to suffer, and they are hoping that that will force Donald Trump to the negotiation table here.
And it's, I was talking to Mark Stewart. One of the things that he was saying is look at the timing of when China also announced this retaliation. That goes kind of a pattern that people have noted with China right before kind of U.S. markets would be opening. Right. One could lean on thinking that that is intentional in trying to see, make the hurt as much as possible, or be as volatile as possible. But that's not just the only thing we're looking at today. We've got reaction coming at some point soon from the EU as well. They're voting today on how are they likely to respond?
Yes, so they're voting today. And what's interesting is that in terms of their retaliation, they are responding at this point to the steel and aluminum, or aluminum as you Americans say.
I love you.
Aluminum. I still need to get used to that word. Aluminum tariffs that were imposed back in March. So they're literally two sets of tariffs behind. They still need to respond to auto tariffs. They still need to respond on the latest 20% in terms of reciprocal tariffs. Part of the reason why the EU is so slow is that we're talking about a 27-member bloc. So of course, they're going to take their time. Also, I think what's really important is that they have to be smart. They have to be strategic about how they respond so that it doesn't come back to bite them.
Saying we propose 0 for 0 tariffs. He said no. Now they will have a carve out for Kentucky bourbon. So what does that mean? It's bluff, right? You had the head of the European Commission saying we propose 0 for 0 tariffs. He said no. Now they will have a carve out for Kentucky bourbon. So what does that mean in terms of how Trump responds? I guess it is a very dangerous, very impactful game of chess.
Very dangerous. The EU is also taking it slow because they really need to sort of leave some room open here for negotiations. You pointed out the auto tariffs. They're trying to see if that can be 0%. But EU, if we could pull up actually where EU markets are right now, they were, I mean, obviously the EU, Europe as a whole is 5 to 6 hours ahead of the US.
Correct.
So they're going to be closing soon, but you see they're down significantly across the board. The FTSE 100, CAC on all of them are down right now. So in terms of optimism, there really isn't much in the way of that.
Not today, not right now. Sam, it's good to see you.
Good to see
Thanks
you,
for coming in.
John?
All right, and with us now, CNN global economic analyst Rana Foroohar. So, Rana, since we've been on the air in real time, China announced its retaliatory tariffs, putting its tariffs on U.S. goods at 84%. U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods are 104%. So where does that leave us as this trade war progresses this morning?
Well, it leaves us.
We have big, important breaking news this morning. China is striking back. In just the last hour, Beijing announced it is now
I was saying it leaves us fucked. That's where it leaves us. There's a link to that. Now, this is, I think this is the last story I want to report to you guys. There's a lot going on in the world. Somebody, I don't know. Let me not be messy. Have you guys heard about this story? God knows you're not going to hear about it in the beef sector, even though, I don't know. Let's see.
The message from the Dominican Republic is clear. Haitians fleeing the violence at home should not seek refuge with their more prosperous neighbor. The two countries share the island of Hispaniola, but relations have long been hostile. And this week, the Dominican Republic began mass deportations of thousands of Haitians.
We have been informed that the police are the ones carrying out the operations. It is a kind of persecution against black people and against all those who are presumed to be Haitians.
The gang violence and poverty, synonymous with Haiti, are getting worse.
Only last week, in the latest symptomatic horror, gang members entered a neighborhood of Pont-Sondé in the dead of night, setting fire to houses and gunning down residents as they fled. At least 70 people were killed, including 3 small babies.
Struggling to cope with the return of thousands of people, Haiti requested an emergency meeting at the Organization of American States.
Despite our efforts at dialogue, we report grave violations of the rights of Haitian citizens in the Dominican Republic, Haitians who went there looking for security and better opportunities. The international community agrees this policy of deportation is what it really is, a campaign of discrimination based on nationality and skin color.
What you want to meet with the Americans for? Because they under the same campaign. What you want to meet with us for? You better try to meet with somebody from the EU or something, or China or something. What you trying to meet with us for? We doing the damn same thing. We have a president who's talking about trying to make it palatable to send United States citizens to that El Salvador brutal prison. And who do you think will be the first ones they send? Talking about repeat offenders, and while at the same time they're pardoning repeat offenders for that January 6th thing, while the repeat offenders that they have pardoned for January 6th are trying to act as if that their pardons included all of the SA abuse things that they did prior to January 6th, all of the drug charges that they did prior to January 6th. Do you think? Oh, shit. It may be the same thing going on with people, black people. It's already going on with Hispanic people in the U.S. So y'all are in a pickle.
It's immoral and reprehensible and in direct violation of fundamental international rights.
The Dominican Republic said on Tuesday it is fulfilling a pledge announced last week to deport people living there illegally. At least 500,000 Haitians live in the Dominican Republic, trying to escape a country in collapse. And a UN-backed mission led by Kenyan police that launched earlier this year is facing a serious lack of funds and manpower. Zaid Basravi, Al Jazeera.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get...
Okay. Let me see this. That's not playing. Oh, well, I guess I won't see that. Oh, this is a Christmas Eve, so that was a long time ago, it appears. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Let me see. Okay. I cannot believe, I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, peasants, you say. Did you guys hear about that idiot vice president that we have who has pissed off China by calling them peasants? Let's see this. Let's check this out. Okay. And I also have China's response. Okay. And then I'm going to show you some race, fraud, and abuse as well. So let's hear what the idiot, in my opinion, racist vice president who looks up to white supremacists. I showed you a video of a TikToker who exposed all of the white supremacist people that our VP had been following, and then they took his video down. Why did they take his video down? I don't know. Let me share this with you guys. Let me get beyond this commercial first. Okay, here we go. Now, I had a hard time finding this, but let's see this.
JD Vance is now walking through a political minefield of his own making. In what was supposed to be a routine media appearance to sell President Trump's bold economic vision, the vice president, while speaking to Fox News, argued that the globalist economy pushed by former presidents was a failure that awarded elites and other nations. But when speaking on China, his comments triggered varied reactions on social media. Taking a dig at China and Chinese nationals, Vance allegedly referred to them as peasants.
I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
So if we have to borrow money from China, who's the peasant, stupid? Did you hear the actual insanity and the fucking audacity of this motherfucker talking about if we borrow money from China, these peasants. But you're less than a peasant. Speak for yourself. You're less than a peasant.
Critics pointed out that the vice president's comment came off as demeaning and dehumanizing, particularly from a man who once wrote about his own poverty-stricken childhood in Hillbilly Elegy. Another social media user even pointed out that how does a vice president get away with calling Chinese people quote-unquote peasants in 2025? And he also pointed to China's own transformation from rural hardship to high-speed railways, advanced electric vehicles, and futuristic cities. One comment.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at America's and its disastrous infrastructure, and Chinese how their cities are light years away from our cities, and you gonna call them peasants? It's just, you know, the white privilege of it all. The white privilege of it all. The total audacity of this motherfucker.
Men are noted Chinese peasants are doing better than a lot of Americans right now, adding fuel to the debate about whether the vice president's remarks were rooted in reality or just old-fashioned American exceptionalism. Even Chinese commentators weighed in, noting that the Chinese
or just old-fashioned American racism
have invested a lot in development and not in wars. And then pointed out that for decades, the American people have benefited from good and affordable Chinese products. But as the internet lit up, Vice President Vance did not back down. Instead, he pressed on the administration's broader message that the U.S. economy is undergoing a necessary, if painful, transformation.
We're not going to fix things overnight. For the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the Americans who make the products, the Americans who produce these products.
What products do we make? What products are we producing? What the fuck is this motherfucker talking about?
Products and work in these factories. It's time for us to take care of them.
What factories? What American factories are you talking about? He is not rooted in reality. Just all of this tough talk. I bet you that motherfucker got a glass jaw. I bet you that this motherfucker is disgusting. Disgusting.
Instead of taking care of the world.
Now, whether the commander-in-chief and his vice president are in fact building political capital or burning bridges, one thing is certainly clear. JD Vance is not softening his stance anytime soon. And if this is just the beginning of his vice presidency, America may need to brace for many, many more blunt headlines.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
Okay, so I wonder, did you guys hear about that? Hey Liz Livos, the white arrogance of it all. China is gonna show Vance who the peasant is by tariffs. I just wonder, did you guys hear about that? He's an a-hole. The arrogance of it all. Ignorance is bliss. Yes. Oh, so I do have a response of China. I think I forget who. Here we go.
美方滥施关税，严重侵犯
The US abuse of tariffs severely infringes on the legitimate rights and interests of various countries, violates World Trade Organization (WTO) rules, damages the rules-based multilateral trading system, and disrupts the stability of the global economic order.
是典型的
This is a typical act of unilateralism, protectionism, and economic bullying, which has been widely opposed by the international community. China strongly condemns and firmly opposes this.
中国人不惹事，也不怕事。
Chinese people do not provoke trouble, nor are they afraid of it. Pressure, threats, and blackmail are not the right ways to deal with China.
必将采取必要措施。
China will surely take necessary measures to resolutely safeguard its legitimate rights and interests.
如果美方置两国和
If the US disregards the interests of both countries and the international community and insists on engaging in a tariff war and trade war, China will fight to the end. I think what the US has done doesn't reflect a willingness for sincere dialogue.
想要认真对话的意愿。
If the US really wants to engage in dialogue, it should adopt an attitude of equality, mutual respect, and mutual benefit. China has made its position perfectly clear on the trade relations with the US.
听到这位副总统说出这样无知，
It is surprising and lamentable to hear such ignorant and impolite remarks from the Vice President.
当前形势下，伊朗核问题相关各方
Under the current circumstances, all parties involved in the Iran nuclear issue should move towards each other, strengthen dialogue and contact, and prevent the situation from escalating. As the country that unilaterally withdrew from the comprehensive agreement on the Iran nuclear issue, leading to the current situation, the US should demonstrate political sincerity, uphold the spirit of mutual respect, participate in dialogue and consultation, and stop the wrong practices of frequent threat of force and extreme pressure. China's
interesting that he would bring up the Iran situation. Because they're demanding that Iran better stop their nuclear weapons program, or they're going to be held back. Now, did you guys know? Are we at war with Yemen? That's another question that I want to know. Are we at war with Yemen? I thought that Congress had to approve any wars. The past 22 days, the U.S. has been striking Yemen several times a day, some days. So are we at war with Yemen? So if you haven't been on my page, I have been reporting how in conjunction with Israel, they are showing force by hitting Yemen. Remember, Yemen was the cause of attack, the cause of them giving up the information about the attack on Yemen was one of the things. But they have been attacking Yemen. One of the things there where Pete Hegseth and our national security advisors and were just complicit in possibly giving away information that could have downed our planes before they got off the ground good. We understand that we have a unqualified national security in the United States. At the same time, where 4547 is blustering all of this stuff that they're going to do to Iran, and any attacks on Yemen is an attack on Iran because the Houthis are backed by Yemen. Okay, so I've been through this already about why the Houthis say they are doing what they are doing. Now, I told you maybe 2-3 weeks ago about how Israel and the United States have been doing flights over and around Yemen and Iran, showing a joint force. Are we at war? Why are we doing this? Okay, so now we are setting up taken Israel in the last administration. Why did we pull out of Obama's agreement that Iran wouldn't try to enrich its uranium to use for power? and not for weapons. Okay, so they entered in this a non-proliferation agreement with under Obama's administration. And then when Trump comes into the administration, then they pull out of the agreement. Trump pulls out of the Irani agreement. Why? Why did he pull out of the agreement? Maybe because that man who was sitting up in the White House the other day was the one who told Trump without, Trump doesn't need any facts, or he can't sit still long enough to hear any facts. They were the one. Israel was the one. Netanyahu was the one allegedly who told 47 that they were still proliferating uranium for weapons. And then what did he do? He pulled out of the agreement. And now his stance is if they don't agree to stop proliferating uranium for weapons, that it's going to be hell to pay, and they're not going to like it. And I don't like to say it, but it's going to be fierce. I thought that all of these, where's MU with her dumb ass? I thought that she liked 47 because he doesn't get us into wars. And his first week in the first weekend that he was in office, he attacked Somalia. Where's MU? Where all of these strikes that are going on in the name of Israel, in the name of what Israel told him about Iran, they pulled him out of a deal. Now he is demanding that they do something that they were already in a deal to do in the first fucking place, but he pulled them out of the deal. Where's MU dumbass? Where's stupid bitches? Where are stupid bitches who are backing this dumb shit that is going on? So that's what China is. I imagine that's what China is talking about. Let's finish China's remark. He touched on JD Vance, old stupid ass white supremacist ass, in my opinion.
伊朗核问题相关各方
Under the current circumstances, all parties involved in the Iran nuclear issue should move towards each other, strengthen dialogue and contact, and prevent the situation from escalating. As the country that unilaterally withdrew from the comprehensive agreement on the Iran nuclear issue, leading to the current situation, the US should demonstrate political sincerity, uphold the spirit of mutual respect, participate in dialogue and consultation, and stop the wrong practices of frequent threat of force and extreme pressure. China's bilateral cooperation with the relevant country is never aimed at third parties and should not be interfered with by third parties.
到底是谁在勒索胁迫，无事生非，公道自在。
It is clear who is engaging in extortion and coercion and stirring up trouble. We urge the US to adopt a correct attitude and, instead of spending time sowing discord, do more practical things for the development of Latin American and Caribbean countries.
Thank you. Focus on what you love for helping me meet my goals. I appreciate that. Excuse me if I kind of snapped. Focus. Liz, thank you. I appreciate you guys for helping me reach my goal, because I just truly try to hit on things that are really missed, because our media ignores these things. And the reason why I play videos, because I don't want you to think that I'm just getting this stuff out of my head. I try to cite my sources whenever I can. It's just crazy to me. I got the sound. Child, she done burned her bird brain with all them substances. Yeah. Power to the people. Yes, Congress is supposed to approve wars. So there is little being said about this. And I just think that your efforts are obvious and appreciated. Trust. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for being here. So these are just, I think it's one last thing that I don't want to miss out. I don't think I want to play that. There's a video about these red pill guys having remorse because they have lost so much of their money. Their these are not rich guys who bought into the cryptocurrency, and now they're crying, and then now they're mad at 45, 47 for being broke. So it is what it is. They were, saying the most disgusting things in support of him, and now they're angry because his policy hasn't worked out so well for them. So, it is what it is. That's all I have to say about it. Now, I haven't watched all of this. If you guys need to leave, you guys can. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your support. I am going to play maybe 3 highlights. They had a hearing with the Trade Commission on yesterday, if you guys did not know that. So let's, I'm going to go through this. The link is in the description box. Okay, so let me find some spots that I was alerted about. Ron writing, questioning was one of them. Oh, that's his opening. I don't know if this is questioning. That may be his questioning.
Morning, I'd like to focus on one central question. What is the plan? In the last week, the White House has been all over the map when it comes to this question. There is no clear message of how the tariffs were determined, what they're supposed to accomplish, how long they'll be in place, whether they're a negotiating tool or a move to try and cut the United States off from global trade and usher in a new era of 1870s style protectionism. In the days since Donald Trump announced his tariffs, the president and his advisors have repeatedly changed their stories on all of these questions. Last Thursday, Donald Trump said, quote, "The tariffs give us great power to negotiate." Just after Secretary Lutnick and a top economic advisor told reporters the tariffs were not up for negotiation. Then the stories changed again on Sunday when the Secretary of Agriculture and the top White House economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, both said Trump's tariffs were bringing foreign countries to the table, hoping to negotiate new deals to cut tariffs. At nearly the same time, the Treasury Secretary was on TV Sunday saying the tariffs would remain in place for, quote, days and weeks. Asked if the tariffs were up for negotiation, the Commerce Secretary said Sunday, the tariffs are coming. He announced it, and he wasn't kidding. The tariffs are coming. And yesterday in the Oval Office, Donald Trump said there can be permanent tariffs and there can also be negotiations. So again, this morning, what we want to know is what is the plan? The stock market is up a bit this morning on yet another round of rumors that Donald Trump might not go through with his full barrage of tariffs. Yet
this meeting was yesterday prior to 45, 47 increasing the tariffs on China. Be aware.
This weekend, Donald Trump retweeted a post on Truth Social arguing that Trump is crashing our economy and markets on purpose as a strategy to lower interest rates. Is it possible that's the plan? Tank the economy so wealthy people can borrow money more cheaply? We know that billionaires like Howard Lutnick and semi-billionaires like Scott Bessent won't mind paying more for groceries or gas. It's a drop in the bucket for them. But for families, higher costs are going to get hurt. Higher costs are going to hurt. The nonpartisan Yale Budget Lab predicts the tariffs will cost families $3,800 in the first year alone. In Mr. Greer's confirmation hearing, he argued that economic security leads to strong national security. Our country is getting the opposite with these pointless tariffs. Destroying the foundations of our economy is not only disastrous for workers and families, it makes our people less safe. So you look at Stellantis, the auto company, laying off 900 workers in response to the tariffs. I talked to Pacific Northwest fruit growers who are being told no more American exports, and I hear from small businesses in Oregon that they'll have to pay more for the materials they use to make their products. And I worry that Americans will soon be poorer and face greater threats to our national security thanks to these Trump policies. Is that the plan? Colleagues, I'm going to close with this. The Trump aimless, chaotic tariff spree has proven beyond a doubt that Congress has given far too much of our constitutional power over international trade to the executive branch. It is time to take that power back. On a bipartisan vote, 51 senators sent that signal last week by stepping in and passing legislation to lift Trump's reckless tariffs on Canada. Well, now Donald Trump has slapped tariffs on about 180 countries, and this is a big unforced error that requires a big response. So let me close with this announcement. Today, I am proposing a new bipartisan privileged resolution to end the latest crop of global tariffs that are clobbering American families and small businesses. Members on both sides of the aisle ought to know that this is a call to action, and Congress must step in to rein this president on trade. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Wyden. And Ambassador Greer, you may now make your statement.
I'm going to bypass his opening statements. The link is in the description box at the bottom of the description box. I want to get to the questions.
Rained out. That's pretty rotten stuff. And you ought to realize how serious.
And I think we're disappointed by this. It's not surprising, but we are certainly disappointed by that.
And now you're engaged to, again, see if we can get compliance.
We will see, right? The Chinese obviously have agency in this. It's not just a matter of U.S. policy. We, of course, welcome and we hope that foreign countries will change their practices to make sure that they're fair. And we look forward to continue to monitor that situation.
Thank you. The administration has announced it's negotiating an agreement also with India, and it appears already to be yielding results, such as India dropping its digital services tax. Although India has high tariffs, its non-tariff barriers are just as significant, if not more so. Will you try to include commitments on matters such as intellectual property, technical barriers to trade, and science-based agricultural rules to take on those barriers?
Yes, and I have a standing call with my Indian counterpart to address these very issues.
All right, thank you. Senator Wyden.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I saw at page 4 of your testimony, Mr. Greer, you said the president's strategy is already bearing fruit. Well, I can tell you for a lot of Oregonians who have 401ks that are being drained out, that's pretty rotten stuff. And you ought to realize how serious this is for the country. Now, everybody in the administration practically has a different story about the Trump tax hike. So I'm interested in knowing what the story is today. Will higher tariffs go into effect tomorrow as announced?
Senator, yes, they're scheduled to go into effect. We are having negotiations with all kinds of countries at this time. The president's fixed in his purpose. The nature of the emergency that I discussed earlier is not something we can wait on anymore. So we will have the president's plan go into effect, and we're coupling that with immediate negotiations with our partners.
Notice how everything is shrouded in an emergency. Bullshit. He inherited a very strong economy. There was no motherfucking emergency. Let's continue.
As they seek
so it's not a question of something being scheduled. You're committing this morning that they're going to go into effect.
This is what the president has said, Senator.
For how many countries? I understand it's over 50.
That are negotiating with us. We have about 50 that have come to speak with us, and I'm constantly talking to my counterparts. I have staff right now at USTR meeting with others, and we will have the tariffs in place. And if the other countries can come to an agreement on reciprocal trade, then that's something that the president can consider. I don't want to prejudge the negotiations or the president's decision, but that's what we're doing.
Now, you've said you've been negotiating deals. Foreign countries have already retaliated against our farmers and ranchers and small businesses. How can you commit that negotiations are not just going to stop bleeding our farmers and ranchers and small businesses? How can you commit that negotiations are not just going to stop bleeding our farmers and ranchers and small businesses? How can you commit that negotiations are not just going to stop bleeding our farmers and ranchers and small businesses. How can you commit that negotiations are not just going to stop bleeding?
Hold on 1 second. I don't know what happened. Let me pull that back up. I apologize. Right when we get into the good part. Hey, the Bushes, how you doing? Grand Rising. Here we go. Let me find my spot again. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Here we go. I apologize.
Or to continue to monitor that situation.
Thank you. The administration has announced it's negotiating an agreement also with India, and it appears already to be yielding results, such as India dropping its digital services tax. Although India has high tariffs, it's
we have about 50 that have come to speak with us, and I'm constantly talking to my counterparts. I have staff right now at USTR meeting with others, and we will have the tariffs in place. And if the other countries can come to an agreement on reciprocal trade, then that's something that the president can consider. I don't want to prejudge the negotiations or the president's decision, but that's what we're doing.
Now, you've said you've been negotiating deals. Foreign countries have already retaliated against our farmers and ranchers and small businesses. How can you commit that negotiations are not just going to stop bleeding, but are actually going to open up markets that the Trump tariffs have closed off?
So, Senator, we've already had many countries, many of our markets, explain that they are not going to retaliate against the United States. And in fact, Vietnam, for example, they've lowered their tariffs already on cherries. They've lowered them on almonds and apples, things I know are important to the Pacific Northwest. And this is exactly the right direction that we want to go in. And I look forward to hearing from you what other kind of market access you want as we enter
what's
these
the status of China? As you know, that's a big market for us in the Pacific Northwest. What's the status of discussions there? I don't see much progress. What I see is it looks like it's going to escalate and escalate some more and hurt our consumers and our small businesses in our part of the world.
Well, Senator, unfortunately, China for many years seems to be choosing its own path on market access. Again, they have agency in this. They elected to announce retaliation. Other countries did not. Other countries signaled that they'd like to find a path forward on reciprocity. China has not said that. And we will see where that goes. I think we need to work with our closest friends to make sure that we have trading arrangements that work. And if the Chinese are open, we'll see what. But they haven't signaled.
It's kind of funny that what's missing in this conversation is that the trade that China does with BRICS, one of the fastest growing collection of nations that trade amongst each other in their own currency, not using the US dollar to trade. And also that 45-47 came out with a statement that the BRICS better not try to devalue the dollar. So I think, are we missing a point here about all the trade and all the nations that have agreed to trade with each other and X out having to deal with the U.S. entirely? Are we forgetting that part? The unspoken part? Let's continue.
Haven't signaled that at all. So I don't think that's in the very near term with China.
I just am concerned that there's no strategy at all. I'm committed. We understand in the Pacific Northwest what the stakes are. To have a smart, tough strategy. I don't see any strategy at all. And you really haven't said much about what the strategy is this morning.
Senator, I appreciate your concern. I want to keep having a conversation with you about this, but I see a distinct difference between those countries who have come to us and they said, we understand your issues, we understand the deficit, we understand your desire for reciprocity, and we want to work with you on this. And the Chinese approach, which has been, we're going to retaliate. We're trying to remedy a situation. We're trying to remedy a situation that's persisted for many years. And it would be wonderful if the Chinese agreed with that and wanted to persist in, work with us on that. But that's not where they are. And the president has recognized this, and he wants to focus on other partners.
Let's talk before my time is up about services. The United States is a services powerhouse, from travel and technology to finance and media. Our services industry account for nearly 80% of the U.S. GDP and 8 out of 10 American jobs. Other countries are
Exactly, because we can only give services because we do not produce anything to trade. That's all. That's where all of our jobs are in servicing.
Are responding to Trump's global tariffs by retaliating against American services. Can you explain how your tariff actions aren't putting our services exports at risk like so much of your trade policy?
Senator and Chairman Crapo mentioned.
Truth and reason. Thank you. I appreciate you helping me reach my goal. I just want to talk about some things that are missing from our media that we had to hunt down, put together, and help people see the broader picture of what's going on. I appreciate you guys for being here, and I appreciate your support.
Mentioned this. We had India already pull down a digital advertising tax that affected some of our most competitive tech companies. We're already in conversations with other countries that if they want to have reciprocal trade with us, that's something that we need to consider as well. And we expect them not to discriminate against our services companies. We have some of the most competitive in the world. I agree with you. And to me, that's part of this calculation.
I wrapped up with the services question because it seems to me it's classic Donald Trump. Really good at talking about problems, even saying that there is some reason to go forward, identifying a problem, but pretty damn bad at fixing them. And there's going to be a whole lot of collateral damage in the process if you all continue with these trade policies and services and in other areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn.
Ambassador Greer, well, thank you for being here today. I know there's been a lot of discussion about tariffs, but would you just briefly discuss non-tariff barriers to trade? In other words, the barriers that countries put up to deny.
I'm gonna skip him. You guys, the link is in the description box. This is a Trump, in my opinion, a Trump apologist, Cornyn. Let's go to people who are going to ask hard questions instead of the people who are going to try to purse a rationale for this idiotic thing that is going on.
It's hard to project what's going to happen with prices, but we know in the first Trump term, that the president imposed historic tariffs on China on an enormous amount of goods coming from China. And during that time,
pain is worth the short-term pain, but what is that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador, it's good to see you again. Could you talk a little bit about the relationship of the tariffs that you have put on and rising prices for the American people? What is it the American people should expect to be able to suffer as a result in terms of rising prices? I understand your position is that the long-term gain is worth the short-term pain, but what is that short-term pain going to look like?
So Senator, I think we can look at, I think we should look at history and data for this. It's hard to project what's going to happen with prices, but we know in the first Trump term, that the president imposed historic tariffs on China on an enormous amount of goods coming from China. And during that time, inflation went down by 0.1%. During the Biden administration, the historic inflation was not on imported goods or related to tariffs that President Biden put in place. It was related to, frankly, services, healthcare, education, et cetera. So I think there's not really a one-to-one on tariffs and price effects, and so many things go into price. I know you think I'm probably like dodging and weaving on this, but I'm looking at data, sir.
Yeah,
and the data shows it's not.
I know you're smart enough to know that the likelihood is that prices are going to go up for the American people as a result of the tariffs that you put in place. Do you disagree with that? I mean, when you say that the American, in your testimony, that you expect the American people will bear the burden, or that, and I'm sure they will bear any burden on some level. But what do you think that burden is actually going to look like?
Well, I think the challenges, frankly, are going to be more for companies that are largely dependent on imports from China and Asia, where they have to adjust their supply chains in a quick set of time.
Yeah.
And the way the tariffs get allocated between the foreign producer and the importer, that's where the majority of.
And we have a bunch of those companies in Colorado, and I know that Osprey Packs, for example, they probably don't want me to mention them, but I will. And in Southwest Colorado would be a very good example of that. I mean, they are very dependent on the supply chain from Vietnam, and they probably are really worried today about what's going to happen, which a lot of people are. I mean, I think one of the things about the situation we find ourselves in is the degree to which we've now created huge uncertainty in our economy, and I'm worried that is going to result in a lack of investment, capital investment. You mentioned some new investments that have been made in our economy, but I think that anybody who knows anything about the economy knows that uncertainty results in people freezing up, a paralysis, a lack of investment, which is going to make it hard for our economy and may actually provoke a recession. Could you comment on your concerns about that and how you're thinking about that? And I have one more question before I'm out of time.
So Senator, the best way to have certainty is to build in the United States, right? That's the best way to have certainty.
But that's going to take a long, long time. And what's going to happen in the meantime, do you think?
So, Senator, we have, I would say, dilly-dallied for years on this issue. We've done these broad studies, which are interesting and helpful that we talk about the Biden administration, but we have to act. I can't sit for 3 years and try to find
I hear you say that, but you could have made a different choice, which was to strategically target a geography, which is strategically target Beijing, strategically target certain industries where all industries in America weren't affected at the same time. You didn't make that choice. I mean, you're in the midst of having trade negotiations with 90 different countries at the same time, by your own testimony, all of whom can make their assessment. I assume these are sophisticated people about where the pressure points are on you, where the pressure points are going to come for us to not necessarily get the best deal because we're spread all over the globe negotiating every one of these agreements at the same time, rather than a more strategic approach, which would have had the benefit of giving us, I think, a much greater degree of certainty about where we were headed. Obviously, you made a different choice, and I'm just curious about how you think about your responsibility, how you think about that.
So I would note, and I think it's thoughtful to think about things in this way. If you look at the results of the reciprocal tariff, the Western Hemisphere generally is at the lowest tariff rate. If you look at where we have our largest problems with non-reciprocity and deficit countries, it's mostly in Asia. And so you do actually see pretty strategic outcome with respect to promoting production in the Western Hemisphere, as opposed to where we have all this overproduction in Asia that's given rise to our current problems on trade.
I would just say in closing, Mr. Chairman, that's true. What the ambassador said is true, but it still doesn't. I still cannot fathom why we are treating Canada and Mexico, our largest trading partners, basically the same way we're treating Beijing. It doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense that we would do it all at the same time like that. And we're going to have to stay on it, which is why some of us have introduced legislation to make sure that Congress begins to take its appropriate role again in making these very important trade decisions. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Senator Lankford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. You've got a lot on your plate, and appreciate the focus right now on this. Let me come from a perspective of a lot of Oklahoma farmers and ranchers and manufacturing folks and retail folks, and quite frankly, folks that
and this whole situation. I apologize.
Yes,
He said that
I did it again.
there was a GoFundMe that was put up for this young man, and it got taken down. But I do know that GoFundMe.
I apologize. Let me grab the link again.
I hate that I did that. I was going to go past Langford. You guys can, if you guys want to hear the whole exchange, you're welcome. The link is in my description box, but it's just some people that just are apologists for anything that goes on in this administration. Let me find my point again. Where were we? We're bypassing Langford. Okay, here we are. Okay. Every time I try to go past one of these repugnant Republicans, I hit the wrong button. Here we go.
To us. And we have to bear it, and our workers have to bear it, and we don't compete on a level playing field.
So two things are wrong with this. One, the customary negative externality.
A poor environmental regime.
Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks, Ambassador Greer, for being here. Just to sort of frame our conversation, tell me what a negative externality is.
This is something you and I like to talk about.
Yes, we do.
This is a situation where you have a foreign country where perhaps they have actions such as poor environmental regimes or lax labor laws, and they don't bear the cost of that. Instead, they send their goods that are the product of these processes where they have lax regulatory regimes. They send it here, and we end up bearing this. They externalize these negative externalities to us, and we have to bear it, and our workers have to bear it, and we don't compete on a level playing field.
So two things are wrong with this. One, the customary negative externality is pollution. And to the extent, for instance, on an issue I've done a lot of work on in bipartisan fashion, plastic in our oceans. Now it's in our drinking water, it's in breast milk. I mean, we've really gone down a very weird pathway with respect to plastics. If China, for instance, is responsible for dumping 60 or 70% of the plastics into the Pacific, then that's a harm to us, correct?
Yes, I agree.
Because it's a commons, the ocean, and we suffer from that. And then if the Chinese company is exporting their goods to the US, and that Chinese company has a lower cost for its product because it doesn't have proper pollution control with respect to plastic, and the US company does, then that's an unfair trade imbalance, correct?
Yes, I agree with that.
So two things are wrong when we get into the situation of foreign countries allowing pollution that our companies pay to prevent.
That's right.
And that's an appropriate place for tariffs to be deployed to offset that trade imbalance and help protect the commons from this particular tragedy, correct?
I think trade action can be appropriate. And when the president announced his reciprocal tariff regime last Wednesday, he specifically referred to pollution by other countries in his speech. You may not have listened to it, but you may want to go back and listen to that part because that's very true, and I agree with you.
Well, it might be the only place in which the administration shows the slightest interest in pollution, so good for that. The issue of plastics is, I think, a pretty significant one. Again, there's been a lot of bipartisan interest. I even went up to the Oval Office during Trump 1 to have one of my bills signed by the president, and he gave a very animated riff on Asian countries polluting our beautiful oceans and how it comes ashore very often in Alaska by the ton along their beaches. So I hope this is an area we can continue to work together. And in particular, I hope that you'll sit down with me and Senator Cassidy on legislation that we are working on. Will you give us that meeting?
Senator, I'll take any meeting with you that you would like to talk about this issue. And I'd like to also let you
sit down with Senator Cassidy's team and have a conversation there. The other thing I wanted to flag for you is that you pretty well successfully deflected all of Senator Bennett's questions about what the immediate impact looks like in the short-term pain for the long-term.
Oh, you see that he was playing nice and now he's about to dig in that ass. Oh, he was so nice to him. Get your guard down. And I noticed that you were so effective in deflecting all of his questions about the impact that this was going to have. Oh, let's continue. I was getting disappointed for a minute. I was like, what's going on?
Gain. I just want to flag for you one issue that is very important to me. Rhode Island is a small business state, right? We don't have a whole lot of big mega corporations there who can balance things and move things around. Canada is our largest trading partner. We have companies who fill an important niche in the global supply chain, and particularly in American companies' supply chains, because they get something from Canada, or let's say China could be, but Canada's our major trading partner, and they process that thing, and then they put it into the supply chain for the larger corporate entities. That's their business. That's all they've got. So if we're not looking out for these small businesses that are actually going to have to lock their doors and close the shutters and fire their employees and go out of business, I think you've missed a huge hole in the problem that these tariffs have created. If all you're listening to is the big mega corporations who can move things around the world and have the resources to dodge these effects, you're not getting the straight story. I think in every one of our states, there are going to be small businesses that occupy a niche in which trade is an important factor, and they're going to go bust because of these tariffs. And I urge you to look out for those businesses because I don't think they're getting their voices heard at all.
So, Senator, I've talked to you about this. I've talked to Senator Hassan about this and others. One thing I asked my team to do last week was to convene a meeting of I have a trade advisory council for small business. I've asked them to convene that meeting. I've connected with the Small Business Administration. They have an international trade desk there. I've talked to I have an office that also deals with small business because I do want to hear it. I think it's important that we hear it because they don't have the same voices in Washington. I will say right now, Canada, Mexico, things coming from Canada, Mexico that comply with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement come in duty-free. They continue to do so. If they follow the rules. If they don't follow the rules, they're trying to put in Chinese stuff that's going to be tariffed. But if they follow the rules, they're going to be getting the duty-free treatment they're due.
Well, a small business that has gone broke is not very amenable to a meeting. They don't exist any longer.
Senator Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member. Good morning, Ambassador Greer. Thank you for being here. Before I start with a couple of additional questions about the impact of these tariffs, I want to associate myself with Senator Whitehouse's comments just now about the impact on our small businesses, particularly those who are critical parts of supply chains for some of our larger corporations in the country. As you know, Canada is our biggest trading partner too, and we are already seeing the impact of these tariffs with our small businesses, especially in our tourism industry, which is being decimated because Canadians are not coming down to New Hampshire the way they usually do. Let me ask you about a couple of other things. President Trump's tariffs have made almost everything that families buy more expensive. The president imposed a 10% national sales tax on all imports into our country and an even higher sales tax on imports from more than 50 countries, including our allies like Canada. This is the largest tax increase in over half a century, and it's going to cost the average American family $3,800 a year. Their morning cup of coffee will cost more, so will new shoes for their kids, and so will fresh fruit. So my question to you, Ambassador, is how much revenue from the president's national sales tax will be used to give tax breaks to billionaires?
So, Senator, as you know, any kind of tariff revenue that comes in to the United States government, it goes to the Treasury, and Congress will decide what happens to that money. Obviously, the president wants to have a very competitive tax policy that's good for everybody. That was part of why he had such a successful economy in the first term, as he married trade action with good tax policy to have $7,000 in increased real wages over that time.
Well, let's be really clear. The president, besides the contradictions in the way he talks about the purpose of his tariffs, the president's made very clear that he sees tariffs as a way of increasing revenue. At the same time, he's working with the majority in Congress to give additional tax breaks to the wealthiest people in the country at the expense of working people who are going to be paying more for everyday goods they absolutely have to pay, goods they were hoping were going to cost less, given the president's campaign promises. But of course, he isn't keeping to those campaign promises as prices continue to go up. Now, the president's national sales tax is increasing prices for families. It's also causing huge losses in Americans' retirement savings. Ambassador Greer, would the administration reverse course if the president's tariffs led to 10% inflation?
Senator, the president is fixed in his purpose. This trade deficit and the offshoring and loss of manufacturing jobs is something that's persisted for too long, and it's dangerous.
I understand your justification for the policy, even though there are some very contradictory justifications coming out of the administration. But my question is, what's the inflation rate where you guys would reverse course? 10% inflation that I just asked you about, that is higher inflation than we saw at the peak of the COVID economic crisis. But you aren't going to say here today that you would reverse course even if you created inflation as high as we had at the peak of the COVID economic crisis.
I think the most serious inflation we saw was during the Biden administration. When we did tariffs in the first term, inflation went down. I just don't, it's not going to be a one-to-one. Inflation about how much money you're putting into the supply.
Well, let's just be really clear that the Trump administration is here today to say that even if inflation hits Americans' pocketbooks at 10% because of these tariffs, then the Trump administration is still going to go charging ahead. So, Ambassador, would the administration reverse course if the president's tariffs caused a 50% stock market crash, which would hurt Americans' retirement savings even more than they've been hurt in the last 10 days or so?
Senator, the fundamentals of the economy are so strong. We had 228,000 jobs last month. We have 9,000 additional manufacturing jobs from
So
from the month
again,
before.
your answer is even if the stock market crashes 50%, which is how much the stock market crashed in the Great Recession, you're not going to say here today that you would reverse course even if you crash the stock market and harm retirement savings as drastically as happened during the Great Recession in 2007.
Senator, your hypotheticals are not consistent with the history we've seen with the use of
My
tariffs.
hypotheticals are based on the fact that a lot of Americans are looking at their 401ks today and wondering how much of a lifestyle change they are going to have, or whether they're going to be able to retire when they plan to, because of the recklessness and haphazard nature of the Trump administration's imposition of tariffs. Nothing was thought out about this. This has been a haphazard, incompetent effort, and it's shown. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Cassidy.
Hey, Mr. Greer, thank you for being here. When I speak to my rice people and my shrimp people back home, they say that the tariff barriers and the subsidies by other countries for those products are so much that it is putting some of our shrimpers and some of our rice people either out of business or in incredible financial binds. And so the fact that the president is attempting to address these.
She dug in that behind. Let's go to the next person. We're going to bypass him. Okay, here we go.
The right incentives to create shipbuilding here without impacting our commodity exports.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador, as USTR's chief of staff in the first Trump administration, you oversaw the negotiation of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, and the renegotiation of the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, the KORUS. President Trump signed both of these agreements. He called.
Yes, he signed these agreements, and he called them the greatest agreement that the world has ever seen. So why is his agreements all of a sudden harming the American workers? These are his agreements. Let's continue.
Called the USMCA a colossal victory, and KORUS a historic milestone. And yet, with President Trump's new blanket tariffs, he is ripping up these agreements with our allies that we negotiated with. Why would any country want to do business with us, much less negotiate a trade deal, if we don't even honor our ongoing agreements?
So, Senator, we are the consumer of last resort. These countries have to sell here. They have, many of them, especially in Asia, have built their entire economies around exporting to us. They're very dependent on it. And that's part of why we have this huge.
No, actually, we're not. We are not the people that anybody has to trade with. Let's continue. See, the arrogance of all of this ignorance. We are the last resort. People have to trade with us. Keep on talking. Keep on isolating us from the world. And you're going to find out what has to be done.
Huge trade deficit. With USMCA, those parties continue to enjoy duty-free treatment for many of the products that continue to comply with the rules that were set out 5 years ago. There's a big concern, Senator, that we did not have adequate other protections to stop the flow, particularly of like autos into the United States.
But there was a process for you to renegotiate that agreement this year. We talked about that in my office. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And it wasn't to do these blanket tariffs, correct?
What we have to address is an emergency, Senator.
That's true. And you should be honest, at least as you sit here, as you were in my office, be intellectually honest. Now, let me just ask this, because this is also true. And I so appreciate my Senator Langford asking this. Time matters. How long did it take to negotiate that agreement, the USMCA, that you were part of?
We did it at breakneck speed. We did it in about 2 years.
2 years. And now you're telling us you have nearly 50 countries coming to you, approaching you to enter in a negotiation. And you think that you can do that overnight?
India.
Man, you're pretty superhuman here, if that's the case. So let's be realistic. That's all we're asking. Common sense and realism here, Ambassador, as you sit here before us. And let me talk about something else that is really important for my state. And I think this entire country, because this administration is forgetting that we have $1 billion economy when it comes to tourism into the United States. People know Las Vegas. My state is Nevada. We rely on tourism to our state, and now we're seeing an impact because of these tariffs, not just from Canada, but I am hearing from so many that are in the tourism and kind of leisure industry. We are seeing impacts because now this $1 billion industry of international tourism is having an impact on our economy. And this is a service industry. Let me just say this. I'm kind of offended by your testimony today that says we must accept self-inflicted economic pain. And I quote you by saying, to become an economy based on producing real goods and services. What does that mean? What does that mean to my service industry and every service industry across this country that relies on tourism and travel? that is the backbone, really a part of our $1 billion economy. What do I tell them? That they just have to suck it up, that they're not really part of this real services, that you have another idea for the jobs that they should engage in? What do I tell them?
Oh, Senator, of course those are real services. The whole
So what are you doing
the whole
about the
sentence,
impact
the whole
about, what are you doing about the impact of international tourism and now these blanket tariffs having a negative impact? What are you doing to address that?
the whole sentence, Senator, said that we need to get away from government spending as funding our economy and financialization, and we need to move to real goods and services, including the tourism you're talking about.
So
It's
what are you doing to
incredibly
impact the
important.
negative impact of tourism right now?
Well, one thing I'll say is we can't have the status quo, right? I keep hearing that we should have, essentially what I'm hearing is we should have the status quo. We should keep the $1.2 trillion trade deficit that Biden left us
I'm
with.
asking
and I don't think
you,
that's adequate.
what are you doing in this administration to address now the impact that you're having with these blanket tariffs, not targeted tariffs, blanket tariffs on international tourism? That is a big impact to our economy. What are you doing to address that?
Well, Senator, as we're talking to all of these countries, we are talking about services. We are talking about making sure that we can export services to other countries. A lot of those that we export are, we
Well,
have
let
digital
me say I only have
services,
so
all
much
kinds
time,
of
and
trade.
apparently you're not. So here's what I would like, because you haven't thought about this, and the administration hasn't really thought about it, because I haven't heard anybody talking about tourism. So why don't you come talk to me in my office, and let's talk about and put a plan together, because these blanket tariffs are having an impact on tourism in my state and across the country. So
Senator, I'm happy to
instead
come
of just
talk to you.
defending it, why don't you just come sit down with some of us and try to address the concerns that we are seeing and feeling in our states that this administration has not taken into account?
I'm happy to come speak with you. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Grassley.
Ambassador Greer, thank you for being here. I've made very clear throughout my public service that I'm a free and fair trader. The Constitution gives Congress the authority to regulate interstate and foreign commerce. I believe that Congress delegated too much authority to the President in Trade Expansion Acts of 1962 and Trade Act of 1974. That said, I support President Trump's agenda to lower tariffs and non-tariff barriers other countries
up here briefing your staff. And we also had the president issue very publicly his America First trade policy memorandum, which specifically said that he was going to look into the trade deficit and the possibilities of tariffs.
So we've wreaked havoc on the economy by having one of the largest. I think my question this morning, though, starts with the consultation that Congress deserves on trade issues from the trade ambassador. And what did the Trump administration do to prepare us, to communicate with us, to tell us about findings as it relates to these emergency orders by the president?
Thank you, Senator. As you know, I find consultation requirements very important, and not just as a requirement, just a matter of good practice. Our staff, the USTR staff, in the past 2 months that we've been in office, have had over 200 formal engagements with staff on the Hill, obviously here in the Senate, also in the House. The day of the reciprocal trade announcement, we had our staff also up here briefing your staff, and we also had the president issue very publicly his America First trade policy memorandum, which specifically said that he was going to look into the trade deficit and the possibilities of tariffs.
So we've wreaked havoc on the economy by having one of the largest drops of the market. We have people's 401 in panic. We have retail organizations like the retail industry, National Retail Federation, American Apparel Industry, Outdoor Association, Consumer Technology, Computer Communications Industry, Main Street Alliance, Small Business Majority, all anxious, asking us to do something. And you're saying, well, some people passed some notes to staff. What the requirement is, and this is where I believe the president has misconstructed and actually exploited this authority, is not communicated to us, nor these interest groups that are now panicked over the effect of tariffs. So I would say that the skill set of a USTR office or even a Treasury secretary could have opened these conversations with these countries without the tariffs and saved a lot of people a lot of pain and anguish. I worry that this trust issue, because I have a different worldview, that we should be building alliances as a way to counter China, that the alliance building process now will become harder. And people are going to wonder, well, is the United States going to pull another fast one again and just wreak havoc? When in reality, countering China with a tech NATO or something like that is a more powerful tool. Do you have a comment about that?
I do. And I think we do need to be thoughtful about this. I think what we can't do is wait. We have had many times in past decades when we have had real robust trade disputes with our partners. Japan in the 80s and early 90s over cars, semiconductors, and they ended reshoring a lot of those factories here. And it didn't make us less of a security partner to Japan. I think we can have these conversations like friends do. And that's what the president said yesterday. He said, listen, China's trying to retaliate. They're taking a different path. But for others who want to have
I want to
meetings, we'll
reclaim my time
negotiate.
for a second because I only have 5 minutes and you have lots of time to answer lots of questions from members. But you can see all my colleagues, we are thoughtful people with specific issues about our constituencies. I just met with raspberry growers. They're concerned. They want to know if they're going to get some seat on a council so they can have their issues heard. I'm for trade. I represent trade. I represent a trade economy. I represent the success of what innovation and trade get you. But you're coming here this morning with this not only tanking of the market and 401s, now you're coming here telling me that tariff is the tool. And I'm telling you innovation is the tool. You're telling us in your testimony you want a tariff on semiconductors. I'm saying that the last administration and this organization here passed the Chips and Science Act so we could reshore semiconductors here in the United States. So you're not going to win the innovation economy by tariffing semiconductors and reshoring that. I don't know what you think. I'm not trying to get the semiconductor. I want to lead on next generation semiconductor manufacturing because I'm pretty sure I'm sitting next to the Intel ranking member here who's going to tell me if we don't lead on semiconductor manufacturing and semiconductor next generation technology, then we're not going to be leading in defense or in AI or in anything. So I want to innovate my way to that future, and I want to use the alliance power of different countries to force China and other people to follow us instead of this berating of the American consumer who has to pay the price for this policy.
Senator, TSMC has announced a new announcement where they're going to have more investment here in the United States so they can make those things here and have that innovation.
Thank you, the people who voted for the Chips and Science Act in the past administration. Thank you for that. We are going to lead on innovation despite this administration.
Senator Warner.
Well, Ambassador Greer, it's good to see you. And let me, first of all, completely agree with Senator Cantwell. I mean, I just don't get it. The fact on semiconductors, while you gave a small exemption, you didn't exempt GPUs, you didn't exempt lithography equipment, you put a huge hit on Taiwan, where we need collaboration with the TSMC. I'm baffled. I mean, you're gonna hear from me what I'm sure you're hearing from most of us. Incredulous about, I think, probably the worst economic policies that I've seen in my lifetime. And the data reflects that. A global tariff of 10 to 50% on almost every worldwide country. Although I will note from my Republican colleagues, you'd be probably glad to know that Russia didn't get a tariff increase. I believe that when all these global tariffs go into effect, I think most of them as of midnight tonight, tariff rate will be approximately 23%, highest since 1909. I believe that'll translate into the largest tax increase since 1968. We've seen the numbers of about $4,000 per family cost. Since Inauguration Day, more than $11 trillion has vanished from the market. And I will acknowledge that we got a little blip today, but I just talked to one of the senior folks in Wall Street, and he described today's market as a good day in hospice. I wouldn't use his name because, there are no good days in hospice, but that's kind of how I feel. And again, I know you guys are supposed to know more than all of Wall Street, but when every firm says, we're going to see increased chance of recession, and I've met you, Ambassador Greer, I think you're a smart guy, but I don't think just because this is the way Donald Trump wants the world to be for the last 40 years that he can simply will it into happening. In my state, the Port of Virginia accounts for $124 billion in trade. That amounts to about 500,000 jobs. Those are all up for grabs now. We got 800,000 small businesses in Virginia. These tariffs are going to wallop them. I had last week a guy in from a local brewery in Alexandria. The owner's name is Bill. He's got a triple whammy. He gets his Pilsner from Canada. He gets his bottle caps from Mexico. He gets his kegs from Germany. So already, even in advance of these all kicking in at midnight tonight, he's laid off 10% of his staff. Even if the president flips on all this, he's not bringing folks back. I mean, candidly, I had another guy in from who makes bourbon and sells a lot to Canada. He thinks it'll be a cold day in hell before the Canadians start buying American bourbon again, simply because our trust relationship has been broken. So I guess the first question I want to give, I'm trying to figure out what would be a question that maybe folks haven't asked. Let me ask you on this one. Australia is one of our strongest allies. We have the AUKUS relationship, which is key to their national security. It's key to our industrial base, so we can continue to build subs. Terribly important. Interesting thing with Australia is We have a free trade agreement with Australia. We don't have tariffs. We even have one of the few industrial countries, we have a trade surplus with Australia. So Ambassador Greer, can you explain to me how it helps America's national security or our trading balance when we have, and I loved your fancy Greek formula, which was basically bad math on steroids formula, how with a trade surplus, with this strong relationship, Australia got hit with a 10% tariff as well?
Senator, Australia has the lowest rate available under the new program. They ban imports of American beef.
Ambassador, excuse me. There is a trade. We already have a free trade agreement. We have a trade surplus. So getting the least bad, why did they get whacked in the first place?
We're addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit, the largest in human history that President Biden left us with. We should be running up the score in Australia.
Ambassador Greer, answer the question on Australia. We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are a incredibly important national security partner. Why were they whacked with a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they ban our beef, they ban our pork. They're getting ready to impose measures on our digital companies.
With your Greek letter formula, the fact that we have a trade surplus.
We have a global tariff on everything. We're trying to address the $1.2 trillion deficit that Biden left us with.
I think that answer, sir, you're a much smarter person than that answer. The idea that we are going to whack friend and foe alike, and particularly friends, with this level is both, I think, insulting the Australians, undermines our national security, and frankly makes us not a good partner going forward. The lack of trust from friends and allies based upon this ridiculous policy that goes into full effect at midnight tonight is extraordinary. I go back to what the market believers believe today is happening. A good day in hospice. I'm afraid if we keep these tariffs in effect, we're looking like an economy that will be in hospice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Daines.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ambassador Greer, welcome to Capitol Hill. I share the President's determination to end these unfair trade practices, whether they are tariffs or non-tariff barriers. I hope we can avoid, and your team's been in touch with mine, and so just that speaks very well of you and the Trump administration, because this is creating some anxiety, this current tariff posture among some of my constituents. On balance, I would say most of my constituents are supportive, and they recognize that some turbulence might be required in order to end up in a better spot and reset trade relations. The other areas that I know are your
Listen, I don't know who his constituents are who understand that there's some turbulence. It's not turbulence. It's increased prices on everything we buy. Who are his constituents? Millionaires and billionaires only. Child by. Next, to the next, on to the next. This motherfucker with his bullshit. I don't want to hear him either. He is with the bullshit. Let me see who else. I don't want to hear him. What is this? The Republican? Where are the Democrats in this hearing? I don't want to hear from him either. These apologists for this bad policy. Who is this? I don't know who she is. Let me see.
Senator Smith.
Thank you, Senator Crapo, and welcome, Ambassador Greer. So it seems to me that President Trump has started a big trade war, and the war is with everyone on multiple fronts, with allies as well as adversaries. I think this is a little bit of what Senator Tillis was getting at. It feels really indiscriminate and chaotic, and apparently we're still just in the early days of this. And I just need to tell you that Minnesotans are freaked out. Farmers who are experiencing, you and I have talked about this, one of the worst farm economies in the last 25 years are looking at lower prices and higher input costs. Minnesotans who work on Iron Range, which is a source of 80% of the iron ore that goes into American-made steel, they want fair trade. They want
Trump's trade war would hurt New Mexico businesses and families. You dodged my question. You told me, quote, I can't guarantee economic tariffs into place.
I've heard from a lot of businesses. Some of them are excited about the prospect.
in place for a very long time, because what capital wants is consistency and stability and predictability. Yet at the same time, the administration seems to be arguing that we would be, waiving some of these tariffs if we could somehow magically negotiate, 50 new trade agreements with 50 different countries. I know my time is up.
Oh, $97 premium. $20 were my fees.
Listen.
$118. Now I covered up
I
my private
apologize. Obviously, it's not meant for me to share this. Oh my God. Hey, Jackson Street. Okay. I am going to, the link is in the description box. I keep on messing up when I try to go forward, and I apologize for that. Uh, the link is in the description box. Go ahead and watch the remainder of that if you wish. And there's a hearing going on today, a judiciary hearing. So I'm going to skim through that and be ready for you guys tomorrow. I appreciate you guys for coming in and sitting with me on today. And I hope you have a great remainder of your hump day. And if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Jackson Street, did I say good morning? Grand Rising, Jackson Street. If I didn't, Liz Livos, thank you for your support always. I hope all is well with you. And I hope you guys have a great remainder of your day. Thank you. All right, I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
In the morning when I'm driving, I really come alive when I listen to my Ronnie, I listen to my Ronnie Q.